Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chuck Sheehan. I'm the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the town of Stonington. This is our special meeting, Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Before we actually call the meeting to order, I want to welcome two members. Always good to have new volunteers here. Morgan Yendow, thank you very much for volunteering and stepping forward and serving the community. And the same to Lindsay Fairchild. Thank you both. Welcome. Okay, let the record reflect that the meeting was called to order just under the wire at 7 p.m. Good evening, Ms. Morrison. And for most of the meeting this evening, the following will be seated. For all of the meeting, myself, Gary Balke, and Dave Resendez and Alicia Morrison. And for some of the items, Mary Ellen Madaleska will be seated. You'll note that is 5 members. We only need 3 members for a quorum, so we're nowhere near it when we drop down to 4. So with that in mind, what's the Commission's pleasure with regard to the minutes for the meeting of November 3rd, minutes number 1807?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve minutes 1807 and a second by Ms. Morrison. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. We're at item 4, public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the Commission on an item that is not on the agenda. Not on the agenda this evening. If you have something that's not on the agenda, you can come forward, state your name and address, and the mic is yours. Hearing none, we'll move to item 5, correspondence. We have 2 items under correspondence: appointment to the POCD and election of secretary. In light of the very busy agenda that we have, and I'll talk about the agenda in just a sec, I'm going to, without objection from the Commission, move those meetings to our next agenda to maximize the time that the public has to speak this evening. So no objection, we'll move those items to the next meeting. And I said I would speak. I should have done this probably right at the opening. If you're here for any of the following items, Reed Co. Stonington, this is at 91 Voluntown Road, 455 Liberty Street in Pawcatuck. For SPA, GPP CRT-1 LLC, these were items that were represented by Attorney Casey at our last several meetings. These will not be heard tonight. They're continued to our next meeting. Also, item that will just be open and continued, there'll be no discussion on, is item 7E, public hearing. This is the application of EG Home LLC, special use permit for the construction of 18 residential units at 13 and 65 Commerce Street. So those 3 items will not be heard. There'll be no opportunity to speak this evening. And at the applicant's request, there will be continued. So back to the agenda. Item 6, reports. Candy, any reports from the staff?
I've included your zoning enforcement report. If you have any questions, by all means, I'll be more than happy to answer.
We did have some correspondence, some additional correspondence. I guess this goes back to the previous thing, but it's normally included under staff comments. We did have a letter from Deb Downey, and Deb sent, as usual, a very informed set of questions and issues, new information on one of our applications this evening on Fair Housing of Connecticut, and I direct your attention to it. It's in your Dropbox, and since that will not be voted upon this evening, you have plenty of time to look at it. She is here this evening, but has elected not to speak in light of the many opportunities she's had to speak. and the busy agenda we have this evening. Anyone from the commission wishes to make a brief remark at all? Thank you. You have a very busy agenda tonight. I've said that many times. Zoning enforcement violations, Candy has sent a detailed report. If you have any questions, perhaps you can ask Candy offline. That brings us to administrative review, application of the Courier Group, and Mary Ellen, you'll be seated. You'll be seated for this item, in addition to Dave, Alicia, Gary, and myself. So the application 25-259ZON Courier Group LLC, care of Robert Courier, administrative review for minor changes to previously approved special permit. Is there anyone here to represent the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chair. For the record, Sergio Trenzia with Trenzia and Associates, offices at 99 Mechanic Street. Good evening. With me here this evening is Bob Courier, who's the property owner and the applicant this evening. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the changes that have occurred on the site. Just so that everyone's aware, I don't know if you've driven by, but Bob has constructed the food truck vendor spot, substantially completed and has been operating there, just for full transparency. And we're here tonight because he made some changes to that plan, and the planning and zoning staff wanted us to come before you with those changes to make sure that everything was copacetic and Bob can continue to operate under his special use permit at this site for the 3 vendor spots which he's been approved for. So I'll try to keep this brief. I just have a list of things, but I'm going to bring up a site plan and then kind of just run through a few photos, if I may. Hopefully everything works here and we can get through this expeditiously here. Try the photos first. See if that works.
While you're flipping through, one more note for the good of the order here. The meeting's through the end of the year, so as not to confuse anyone, we've been flipping back and forth between the police station and this hall. The meetings through the end of the year will be here. Much more accommodating with the video and much nicer setting, quite frankly. I'd like to make it permanent, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. If anyone in the back would like to come up and stand off to the side and look at this while the presentation is being made, please feel free to come forward.
I'm going to attempt to get the screen to share, but I did bring a paper copy of the plan. So the site plan that was approved had 3 vendor spots with accommodations for site lighting, a spot for patrons to sit and eat, as well as the appropriate parking. The picture I have up right now should back up a little bit. Bob has secured an easement, or a lease, excuse me, a lease from Connecticut DOT for a portion of the land in which he resides, which is the majority of which is the parking area. And you can see in this photo that I brought up that he's constructed everything to DOT standards. There's an entrance and exit, one way in, one way out. That is still maintained from the previous approval. He has his signage set up, and that will be located outside of there's about a 20-foot area where the DOT didn't want any signage or impediments. And then the front of the property, you can see he's got some crushed stone and some larger rock there. The parking areas, this is just a photo of it from the street. Figured the picture's worth 1,000 words here. Once again, the entrances on either side, and then the parking area just inside, same amount of spaces, and ADA compliance. This is from the left side, or the more westerly side of the site. And you can see the parking spaces there, and then the vendor spots are a bit further in. This one was taken a little bit later when he's put up one of the things that we're requesting as part of this change in plans is he's put a fence between the parking area and the patron's spot. You can see it was decorated for Halloween in the fall. And has some signage with the patrons, or the food trucks that he has on site. One of the things that we did end up changing is relocating some of the bathrooms and the refuse containers. Those were originally on the east side of the site, and we've relocated those to the west side. You can see that this structure here is the irrigation. It's a 12-inch irrigation it's like a little pump house, which is only used for irrigation of the site. There's the refuse containers, which Bob will be putting a fence around if you haven't already, and then the bathrooms, the portable bathrooms have been situated on that side of the project. You can see some of the food truck parking areas. All of those have been laid with crushed stone. Originally, we had a concrete pad for each one, but Bob has gotten he's got a sturdy enough surface, and he's put crushed stone in these areas, which is better for the stormwater management. But you can see two of the food trucks. I believe this is the barbecue one. He has his pizza food truck in the back there. This is when the fence was being erected along the back of the property. That was a condition of the original approval. And you can see another food truck on the other side here. I believe this is just another picture of one of the food trucks, and this is the other side of the taco. I believe it's a taco food truck, Mexican food truck. This is the other side, and then there was always a storage trailer that I believe was on the west side of the property when under the approved, and it just got moved over to the east side. So it's really just kind of rearranging some of the aspects of the site. This is the lighthouse is a new fixture that was not on the approved plan. It's basically takes the place of a light, and it is lit. It does have at night it's got a light that lights up the area that he purchased from Fleming's across the street, and thought it'd be a nice fixture to place on the site. So just to kind of recap, we've reconfigured the vendor spaces, but we still have the same amount of vendor space on the site, which requires 1,000 square feet per vendor. The patron sitting area got reconfigured to the center of the site. So that's this. I don't know if I have a good photo of it, but they're basically the vendors, the vendor spots, the food trucks flank on either side, and everyone comes kind of to this middle area where Bob has some cornhole and some tables, and it's all grass now. We had proposed a deck, but I don't believe Bob has an intent of building that deck structure under this this change, and that'll just remain a large grass area. There's the addition of the ornamental lighthouse and the addition of a light pole in the northeast corner of the site, just for proper lighting. All of that will be downlit and dark sky compliant. As I mentioned, the relocation of the trash receptacles, that will be screened accordingly. Some of the parking spaces, just the parking spaces themselves, have been asphalt paved, and then the rest of the parking area remains gravel. in addition to the aprons are also asphalt paved, but that was part of the original plan. I mentioned the relocation of the storage trailer, the bathrooms, the single porta-john, and we also, I just want to bring your attention that there was a fence that went around the entire site, but on the west side, excuse me, Bob has had some correspondence with his neighbor, and they're, I believe, putting up their own fence on that side. So we don't need the redundant fence, but also, let's see if I can bring up that picture. Yeah, it's on this side. So the hounds are going to be putting up their own fence pretty much along this side. But there is some vegetation that remains that also provides some screening in the back here from, you know, the trash receptacles and the pump house and the electrical there. As I mentioned, there's a fence now between the parking lot and the sitting area. I think it's a good delineator just for safety concerns. And some other minor configurations of the center island, really minor, just shortened it a little bit, which increased the traffic away. And the tree up in the northeast corner, that area had always been within the limit of disturbance. Bob tried to keep that tree, but it ended up being an impediment to where he wanted to put things, so that tree was taken down. I think that covers it. I know it sounds like a lot, but I just wanted to make sure I covered everything succinctly and in detail so that that you all could ask questions or make any comments, and we'd be happy to answer anything that you have. So thank you.
Commission have any questions for the applicant or his attorney? Just a couple. Have the grades changed at all substantially from what was originally approved?
No, not at all.
Okay, so the fill and grading and everything is in accordance with it?
Yeah, I don't think you brought in any fill, Bob, right? So, yeah, because Bob, he obviously was heavily involved with the construction, trying to keep his budget down on this project because it's a new endeavor for him. But no, this site is generally flat. Everything kind of grades off and into the wetland, into the back, and some, back to the front.
And the placement of the lighting is in accordance with the site plan, original site plan?
It is. The only change was, I believe, that there's a light that's in the front corner. That one, I believe, is off of this. It's this pole right here, right? Yeah. So this pole here is where the original light is, and then and then in the back, there's another pole going. Is that it? No, that's the one that goes the other way. Go back. Is it right there? That's it. Yeah. There's another pole in the back here, and there'll be a light that shines into the site from that. So you got the corners covered, and then that lighthouse sheds a little bit of light.
So no encroachment beyond the property line?
For as far as lighting goes?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make sure it all stays right
I have no
outside.
further questions. Unless there are any questions from anybody else?
I have one question, and I could be wrong, but the last time I think I was there on a Friday night, there was a Chick-fil-A truck there. I think there were 4 vendors there. At one time there was,
At one time, there were 4 trucks. They were open, but it was a miscommunication with the scheduling. They came, and so they were there, but it's not. It was a one-time deal. To be quite honest with you, it was our grand opening, and I didn't think the barbecue truck was going to be able to make it, so I invited them. They actually were able to open, and that was that. So moving forward, there has been not.
so it was a one-time.
Yeah, it was a one-time thing. It was miscommunication with one of the other vendors.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions? What's the commission's pleasure on the application of Courier? We don't have Ryan here.
I don't know
Somebody's
what's
got to speak up.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the plan as is.
Motion to approve by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Vote. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Next item, under old business, should we have Steve Trinkus in the audience for the town of Stonington? And Mary Ellen, you'll be seated on this as well. This is application PZ 254, 55 PA, town of Stonington. Site plan application for the installation of stormwater management infrastructure. Properties are located at 166 and 76 South Broad Street, Pawcatuck, map block number 25-1-19. Property is located in a rural residence 80 zone. Steve, it's nice to finally put a face to all these memos we get here.
Thank you. Steve Trinkus, I'm a consultant
Chairman, you gotta
in
use your mic.
Southbury,
Sorry.
which I did this work under, but I'm also currently, in addition to my private practice, working as the assistant town engineer for the town. But I did this work as a consultant. This project involves some additional low-impact development retrofits in the Spellman Park area. One that was previously approved just when you enter the high school driveway will actually be started under construction next week by Public Works. These projects, one is the parking lot between health services and the existing athletic fields. The parking lot will be reconfigured on both sides to be expanded, with also a bioretention cell in between the two parking areas to treat the runoff from the existing health services lot and also the new parking lot. As we move down the driveway towards the track facility for the high school, along the roadway there will be, I believe there's a total of 5 tree wells. Tree wells are a low-impact development practice. It's kind of a tree in a concrete box, for lack of a better term, with soil media. So these, instead of the water going into the catch basins and being piped out, runoff will be directed into these tree wells to filter through the media, and then the flow, because we know we're on filled material out here from prior testing, the overflow will then go into the catch basins, but we will clean the water before we discharge it. As you go further down the driveway, there's a semicircular parking lot to the left-hand side, and the way the parking grading existing today, it all drains, towards the roadway. So in the one grass strip between the parking area and Spillman Drive, we're going to do another bioretention cell there and catch the water from both the upper and lower parking lots. We're going to put paved swales through the upper island, 2 points to direct the water to the lower parking area, where then it'll naturally drain to the grass bioretention cell. When we go down further past the tennis courts and we may go into that parking area, there's already a bioretention cell at the south end of the tennis courts and pickleball courts, which was built, I think, a couple years ago and is functioning extremely well. One of my days here when it was raining, I went out there at lunch and the water was draining into it and absolutely nothing was ponding. So it was infiltrating and going away, which is what they're supposed to do. So once you go into the parking lot, we turn north to the northern end of the tennis courts. We're putting in another bioretention cell there that will catch the water from the whole track facility. That's about 3 acres of impervious cover. We'll also take some of the existing basketball courts, if they redo them in that location, or if they redo them next to the tennis courts. This went back and forth with Parks and Rec, with Danielle, and we basically put the system in a location where Parks and Rec could either keep the basketball courts where they are, or put them in a new spot, but it won't interfere with the bioretention cell. The last one is at the southern parking lot, past the playscape area. That parking lot drains to the southwest corner naturally. We had wetlands approval back earlier this month for a bioretention cell there that will fully infiltrate. We actually have sand and gravel soils in that location. And then there'll be a pipe to a grass swale that will go into a small wetland area that's at the base of the slope, I guess it would be north of the pond. It's really kind of belt and suspenders with the soils out here. I don't think the water will ever discharge from the pipe. So these are going to be constructed under a grant with the Eastern Conservation District through DEP under the 319 funding. So we're going to be, in addition to the other ones I did, getting rid of a lot of impervious cover and treating the water and then putting it back into the ground, which is the whole intent of the federal MS4 permit, which is administered by DEP. The whole idea of the MS4 is for municipalities to, retrofit existing impervious cover to reduce discharges of polluted runoff and also ideally put it back into the ground. And that's what we're doing, at Spellman Park.
Conclude your presentation.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Trinkus? Any comments at all, Candy, from the staff on that? No comments, no questions. What is the Commission's pleasure on the application of the Town of Stonington for 166 and 176 South Broad Street?
Really nice plan. Thanks for working on this. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application with no stipulations.
A motion to approve by Dave. Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Morrison. Thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now moving into public hearings. We have a large crowd tonight. I'm sure many of you want to speak. Several of these items have been heard on several previous occasions, not the least of which is the first one we're going to hear tonight. I would ask if you can focus on new information that you have to raise and refrain from.
Excuse me, I don't think the audience in the back can hear you.
I'm sorry, you can't hear me because I didn't press the button on the microphone. We don't normally operate with high tech like this, so thank you. So I'll repeat. We have a lot of people that want to speak this evening. We are time restricted in this room, and the Commission has to break all this down and clear out of here by a time certain. So I would ask for those who wish to speak, if you could confine your presentation to new information. We're not going to put a time restriction on you. We may hustle you along so that everybody gets an opportunity to speak. If we don't remind you and we don't try to keep this moving, someone is not going to get to speak that wants to speak. And I know nobody wants to be at fault for causing that, so at least of which the board. So we are in a bit of a crunch here. We're not going to put a time restriction on you. So with that, our first public hearing tonight is PZ 2522SD, application of F. Verzillo, represented by Sharenzi and Associates. This is a subdivision application to create 13 building lots on properties that are located at 75 Moss Street and Burdick Lane in Pawcatuck. Map block lot number 4-24-7A, 4-24-7B. That's two properties to begin. Properties are located in the RA 15 zone. This is a continuation of the public hearing that was started on October 21st. And just to recap, the process has been an iterative process where the applicant sought input from the abutting homeowners and has designed the application in response to the feedback from the majority of the owners that abut the site. So we need a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Move to reopen the hearing.
Motion to reopen. Thank you, Commissioner Marcy. And is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. The hearing is open. The process here, for those who have not been here before, is the applicant will make their presentation. The commission will ask questions of the applicant. Staff will have its input, and we'll move to public input. And if you wish to speak, there are sign-up sheets on this side of the room over here, my left, your right. And if you would please sign up. If you don't sign up, we'll still ask for those to speak and everyone who wishes to speak will have an opportunity. Sergio?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I am with Sergio Trenzia, but I am attorney Rob Avina from the law firm Assistant Shapiro. Thank you for hearing us this evening. We know that this is our final night of extension of the public hearing. As the chair just recalled, we have changed the plan to make the through road, and we have been endeavoring to complete the remainder of the requirements for the subdivision that we can explain tonight, so that you can be prepared to close the public hearing. We don't expect a decision tonight. Per the statutes, you have another 65 days to make a decision, but we do need to close the public hearing tonight. We've extended our time period as far as we can. What I'd like to do before I turn it over to Sergio is just again to comment on what we have accomplished to date. In the file as of last Thursday, I added to the record a declaration of covenants, conditions, and easements, and the purpose of that was to answer the concerns of the staff that Frank Brazillo, who's here tonight, he owns all the property, and he has agreed that we're going to have him be the declarant, do an HOA, and under those conditions of easement, we will grant the town of Stonington any required accesses to the property and to help supervise the drainage. However, the drainage swale and the detention basin will be privately maintained, first by Frank as declarant, and then as the lots are developed, we're going to create an HOA and ultimately turn that responsibility over to the HOA. The town will be the backup, obviously, so that if in an emergency they have to access the property, they'll get the easements to do so. We've responded to that comment. Going back to some of the staff concerns, again, Conservation Commission, a little bit concerned about our open space layout, but when we readdressed that with the through road, the open space actually got larger. So we do meet or exceed the open space allocation. And as we discussed at previous hearings, we've gotten very positive comments from staff in Clifton that the town appears to want to accept that open space and add it to the town-owned land up there, and including through to the middle school at 40 Field Street. For the police commission comments, as we have addressed them and with staff, we've talked about the sightline issues, which Sergio can mention again. But with the easements that we're going to grant the town, we're going to have that cleared, and we think we'll have plenty of sightline to that first driveway. Also the road width, as we've mentioned before, and I know there was a concern about that, both on the plan and in the land records, is the previous quitclaim deed from Mr. Brazillo back in 2002, in which he has given that property up to the town for any potential widening of Burdick Lane. So that deed has already been recorded, and it's on the land records to donate that property. I think those are the comments that I've addressed to date. I'm going to turn it over to Sergio regarding the recent filing of the last plan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you once again for the record. Sergio Trenzia with Trenzia and Associates. So the plans that we submitted since we last met with you have been more detailed with respect to site grading, drainage, utilities. In full transparency, we didn't get a full set of plans to the town engineer, and they wouldn't review something that was not a full set with a full report. But given the litany of detailed comments, and I will put on the record, we don't take any exception to any of the comments that the town engineer has provided us. And I'll go through just a few items that I would like to put on the record with respect to the existing conditions on this site and trying to meet some of the requirements that the town engineer has outlined as part of the requirement for the subdivision. I'm going to just kind of go through, I'm not going to hit every point, but we'll go through briefly what we are accommodating on the site, some of the more prominent points and concerns that may affect, I believe, the neighbors and the public that I had concerns on, as well as some staff and engineering. So I'm just going to share my screen. Just so I have something to speak to, I did get this to, hopefully this will work now. Great. So this is the portion, I've split the drawing up into two plans. This is the westerly portion of the site at the top of Burdick Lane. If you recall, the first application which we brought in, or the first plan we brought in as part of the application, we had a cul-de-sac in this area, and based on the commentary from the your previous planner and some of the public, it was more favorable to have a through road that connected from Fellows to Johnson. So since then, we've incorporated that into the site plan, and this is a grading plan. Generally, everything on this site, there's some steeply sloping areas, drain from west to east down to Moss Street. So with that, you can see these grade lines. Everything drains down to this road system here. And what we have done is, we still have some swales on the site, but one of the more significant comments was that given the steepness of our swales, there would have to be a significant amount of check dams in order to slow that water down and reduce its erosive potential. So what we have done is converted some open swales and country drainage into catch basins and pipes. We, as Attorney Avina alluded to, we are very happy to cover whatever we need with the appropriate easements over any of the lots, any or portion of lots, to cover the main drainage lines. So this connector between Fellows and Johnson, there's a series of catch basins, which then will be routed around on Burdick Lane, and then come back around to the rear of the properties, starting at Lot 7, and then I'll get to the next portion of the plan, but will be piped down to the basin on Moss Street. So generally, everything is going to be grading. We'll tie in all the roof drains. We will allow anything overland to drain accordingly and be caught with catch basins either in the roadway or at the rear of the lots. Excuse me. So just following it down on Burdick Lane, you can see lots 6, 5, 4, 3, that they all follow suit, and there is a main drain line that runs in the rear of these properties until discharging to our basin, which hasn't changed much, but we did adhere to putting a fence around it, and there are some minor refinements that we'll have to do as we work through the remainder of the design of the town engineer. But by and large, these lots should not change in any significant configuration, if at all. And this basin is where the water is going to be. It's at the low point of the subdivision, and it's going to end up there, be stored, treated, and infiltrated until it overflows into the town drainage system on Moss Street. Additionally, we have separated some of the drainage that is coming off of Oakwood Ave. The town has a drainage discharge onto the property, and we are going to be intercepting that with a separate drain line that'll take that stormwater around our site and put it into the drainage system where it goes today without changing any of that. So that's generally the stormwater system. Some of the other changes that we made in response, more significant from the town engineer, was that Each lot now has a backup turnaround so that they don't have to back up into Burdick Lane. Although some existing homes do that, we obviously we're concerned about safety, and so we have a backup area. Those driveways have also been narrowed to the standard of 12 feet as they connect to Burdick Lane, and we've, to the greatest extent practical, leveled out the slope of those driveways. However, when you have a 12% existing road, it kind of makes it difficult to have a level access to your lot. So, to the extent practical, we have taken those roads off of the existing road, which is an existing town road. We're not going to change the grade of that road. And then we're going to be leveling out those driveways as soon after, especially when they get out of the right-of-way, you're back to a flat surface to access the houses. Excuse me. The Water Pollution Control Authority had a few, I believe, comments regarding some stubs to adjacent roadways, and they call them blind Ys, so that if anyone on this road wanted to tie into the sewer system, there is a stub there already that will accommodate that if anyone were wanted to connect. We have no issue with that. One of the concerns, I think, was this curve around Moss Street. I believe Attorney Avina made it clear, but I'll reiterate that we will work with the town on either conveyance, easement, or whatever instrument is appropriate to provide the town access and or ownership of this area around the stormwater basin. One, to maintain this drainage line that is bypassing from Orchard, but also any sightline considerations. I can tell you we consulted with a traffic engineer, and this first driveway, there's 150 feet to the corner, and that is ample given the speed on of this road. And I know, of course, we're going to get the anecdotal evidence of near misses and people speeding on roads that are, posted speed limits, but that's an enforcement issue and really not the obligation of my client to take care of. So we are meeting the required standards of the of what sightline distance is. We're open to adding additional signage as necessary. We could put some chevron signs, some arrows, and any other signage that will help make that safe and that situation safe for traffic and for pedestrians. I did have a discussion with the police chief of police, and he said their comments from their commission stood, and they would defer to this process in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission as far as what was appropriate as far as traffic controls go in that location. But I told them we are open and willing to address those because we do want to make this a safe situation. I believe I've addressed, I think there's probably 12 comments on just driveways, pitches, which I've addressed. There's some comments on the size and configuration of buildings. Generally, it's my experience with subdivisions, you don't necessarily know what every house is going to look like. These lots could be sold individually, and someone could pick a different house than just this vanilla generic box that we've placed on it. But this gives us a guidance of how much square footage that will be allowed, and I can tell you that that will be restricted as part of the subdivision, because that translates into impervious area, and we've only sized our stormwater for a certain amount of such. So, although the houses here may get smaller, they won't get any larger as far as their footprint goes, but they may take a different configuration on this site. There will be some things that are non-negotiable, which is the maximum square footage of impervious, and also these drainage swales conveying the stormwater will have to be preserved. And of course, that can be stipulated, or there will be easements over the property that are a condition of the approval, that the plan that, those things need to be fixed and cannot be changed. At least not without coming back to the engineer or even back to the town for any changes. One of the other more, I don't know how to explain it, but one of the comments that the town engineer had was that there's not usable space for yards. I don't think that's a requirement of a subdivision, that you provide a yard for these residents. However, it doesn't preclude residents from grading the site, putting up walls, and flattening out areas for yards, pools, whatever else they decide, as long as it doesn't compromise the integrity of the design, mainly for the stormwater, but of other utilities as well. So I think that's something that is pretty standard in subdivision. But I have ran into when people take too many liberties with subdivisions, and we have to go back and say, well, no, you cannot do that. So the restrictions are going to be very important, and that, I believe, will be written into the draft, the restrictions and covenants of and be carried through in each of the deeds for each one of these lots. So it'll be well known when someone purchases a lot, what they can and can't do on that lot, and what it's, so they know what they're buying into. Once again, I'll just reiterate that I know there's quite a number of comments from the town engineer, very detailed. Once again, we don't take any exception to those. I think the biggest thing was the driveways, trying to accommodate a 6% slope, which is just near impossible, if not impossible, given the 12% slope of the road. So, but beyond that, I don't think we take any issue, and nothing is insurmountable with respect to addressing those comments. So, with that, I think I've covered most of the high points. I don't want to continue on. I have a lengthy agenda tonight, which I'll be a part of for the next round here on the next application, so I'll leave it to the commission for their comments, unless Attorney Bean has last minute.
Any additional comments?
All set, we'll wait to reserve any comments.
Okay, any questions from the staff? I'm sorry, questions from the commission?
Microphone.
I'm trying to remember, thank you.
I have a bunch of questions, or not a bunch of questions. First of all, I just want to say I'm incredibly disappointed that you did not do a traffic study. I asked for it 3 times, and I'm very disappointed in that. I walked out Fellows Street the other day. Kids are playing in the street. It's a narrow road. This is going to increase the traffic on that street, I don't know, 20-fold. And like I said, I asked for it a lot, and you didn't even address it in your comments. So I just want to say that.
If I could, Ms. Morrison, we checked the subdivision regs. We don't have 30 or more lots.
I know you don't have to.
Well, I'm not finished yet, comma. And we are 13 lots. I don't think we're the traffic problem heading up Johnson. I think what you're asking, and it goes to Mr. Eiler, who's now in Southeast Asia, that he insisted, and everyone who came up here said, and we've been here since August, that except for perhaps you and I and my applicant, that everyone else said, oh no, the town of Stonington, wondrous place, wants us to put it through. We didn't want to put it through, and we don't think by putting it through that our 13 houses are going to be a problem. The problem is going to be that the town has decided to make it a through road. I don't see how the applicant can be responsible for that, but I appreciate your comment, but at the same time, we don't think it's our lots that are causing a future issue.
And I understand that. I just think we've had an issue recently where the neighbors weren't aware of a traffic circulation issue that changed dramatically. It's not anyone's fault, but I think this is going to come back to haunt us at some point. Just to notify them and give them a chance to just come and express their concerns, if they have any. And if you would just notify the people on Fellows, and I almost went door to door, but I didn't have time, just to say, are you aware that this is happening, and come speak your mind, just to give them a chance. I'm just worried in the future, when the first bulldozer goes down that road, people on Fellows Street are going to go to the town hall and say, what's going on, we didn't know. I understand it's not your issue, I understand the traffic, but it is going to substantially change the character and the people who live on Fellows Street.
So noted, and we tried to make it cul-de-sac, so.
And I don't mind the idea of the through road, I think it's a good idea. Ultimately, however, the better solution would have been to go up onto Enterprise, but that's the town issue. That's been going on for a long time. In all honesty, I worked on this subdivision when I worked for Sergio's dad 30 years ago. This has been going on for a long time. Second of all, the whole stormwater thing, I'm concerned about the maintenance on people's properties. There's going to be a homeowners association who's going to do that. Deed restricting the lots.
You use the mic.
Sorry. Deed restricting the lots. I'm just really concerned about the maintenance of that system. And I understand what you're saying. You can deed restrict it. They can only do a certain square footage. I don't know how enforceable that's actually going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would just comment that the HOAs that we've drawn up in other towns have been successful due to the fact that if the town isn't going to go in and maintain it, then yes, private HOAs have to, because obviously nobody wants the problem to occur. But we will be quite explicit in the HOA, the do's and don'ts of owning a lot there. But with the paucity of housing and lots that are available, we realize that we need to make them available. They're not going to be perfect. My father said the best land around here was taken 200 years ago, but we're working off that since, so.
It's a tough thing.
Any further questions?
I just also want to add, every project we brought through, the town does not want any ownership or responsibility for any of the stormwater management. So that is kind of the impetus for this design, is that it stays on the responsibility of the homeowners.
Anyone else have any questions?
Those backup driveways, those backup driveways,
The turnarounds?
the turnaround, do they have to do that? Can you, or you said this?
Do we have to put in the
No,
turnarounds?
just does the homeowner have to do that?
Oh yeah, that'll be part of the plan, and it can be stipulated such that they need to have a place to turn around and back up before they back up into the road.
Okay.
Do they, I guess your question is, do they have to do it? Not unless we stipulate that they have to be put in.
It's like the houses, okay. And what's a Chevron sign?
Those are those arrow signs. I could pull it up for you.
That's okay.
It's a large arrow
Thank you.
in there for when you have a curve ahead, it indicates where the curve is coming up.
Dave?
So, I think you mentioned that we're gonna close the meeting tonight. We're gonna have to vote on it, but there's still a bunch of open issues. So, how are we gonna decide whether you're gonna have easements for maintenance of the swales? And is there gonna be an easement for the sidewalk? I get it, you've already conveyed the land to the 26 feet, is that?
Yes,
so
we
can widen
conveyed
the
the
road?
land. We are agreeing, in subdivisions you can stipulate, so we've been working closely with staff that we accept the stipulations that the easements will be transferred. Mr. Brazil's here tonight, I have his conservation and easement declaration I filed. We're committed to make those transactions as part of the stipulation. So we're prepared to stipulate. We realize you don't have to vote tonight, we're simply trying to close the public hearing. But between now and when you do have it back on your agenda, those stipulations will be agreeable to us. Last stipulation subdivision I worked on, I think there were 13 of them. It's not that unusual. It was in Ledger, I think. So we're prepared to stipulate to whatever conditions the commission and staff find we need to convey to you. But we're confident that, with Sergio's help, we're gonna be able to put those in there.
Okay, thanks. And just to be clear, you have to notify folks on Fellow Street about this public hearing, correct?
They did not.
No, we
No.
don't, there's no requirement that we do. I will
Okay.
note
Oh,
that
okay.
it's been public since August, October, and now we're in November. So we have been here 3 different times with full notice in the agendas. I'm pretty confident that people are aware, and the ones that did show up, over 50 in August, all testified that they were accepting of the through road idea. We were comfortable with the cul-de-sac, but we'll go with the through road.
I think the through road's an improvement, but
Thank you.
I like this side. All right, thanks.
I have a couple of questions. The detention basin is designed to reduce runoff at all events between 2 and 100-year storm, correct?
Correct.
To the pre-development flow?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me what the freeboard is on the outlet structure in a 100-year storm?
I believe its standard is a foot. I'd have to go back to my report and look that up, Chuck. I don't know
Okay.
exactly what that is.
Okay. And the detention basin is fairly good size. Now we have a bunch of storm drains, not swales, that are going to be in a proposed HOA. What's the applicant's feeling on posting a maintenance bond? I think it would address a large number of your concerns which I happen to agree with, that we're placing a lot of infrastructure in a homeowners association, and although generally that's taken seriously, I've seen cases where it's fallen back on the town and becomes the town's responsibility because sophisticated things like detention basins aren't properly maintained by a small homeowners association. So if the commission were to impose a maintenance bond on this as a condition of approval to address some of the concerns that Commissioner Morrison raised, and frankly I share, would that be something that would be acceptable?
I don't see any issue, Mr. Chairman. We need to open an escrow account of that HOA to begin it, and it's got to be funded by every individual in the HOA, and we'll start with a balance which the town would ask us to begin with. And it's got to be perpetual. There's no way to get away with it.
I have one more comment. It's more of a comment, and I brought this up to the chairman a couple of weeks ago in an email. Years ago, I was on the planning commission years and years ago, and maybe Candy can remember this. There was a fund that in the general budget, it was sort of like a fee in lieu of maintenance, but like there was something, do you remember that?
No, and I checked with Jim Sullivan when that question came up before, and he couldn't come up with anything.
I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more because the old town engineer reminded me of it, and it did ring a bell. It's on. The old town engineer reminded me of it, and it did ring a bell as soon as he told me. And there was some line item in the general budget about maintaining that developers would put money in. That didn't ring a bell to you?
Nothing that we kept a line item that,
I think maybe it was eliminated
for
at some point in
townwide,
the past.
yeah.
I think that's what Jim indicated.
Yeah.
is
That it was there at some point.
It was there at one point in time. It didn't really define the parameters,
It did, but it was there
that it
just for this
covered.
kind of thing.
But
Instead of holding a bond.
still, it sort of fell back on the town instead of properly remaining with the homeowners association and their insurance company where it belonged. So this, I think, keeps it in the homeowners column, and the responsibility in either case, whether they default or whether they don't default, is on them. Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'm going to grab the sign-up sheet and we'll start the public hearing portion of this. Thanks, sir. Okay. First person on the list is Carleen Donnarumma. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, if you have a lengthy statement and you can submit your statement in writing, we're not going to vote on this. There's time for us to consider everything in your statement. We would appreciate it if you would paraphrase any lengthy statement.
It's not too lengthy tonight, Mr. Chairman. By the way, this doesn't seem to be working. It's very upsetting to come here and not hear you people talk. Use your microphones, please.
Can we turn the volume up on the mics? Any chance? That's max?
Then you have to speak right into it, like I'm doing.
Do our best. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
For the record, my name is Carleen Donnarumma, and I still have some several items of concern to bring to your attention tonight. One is the new into the record, a 5-page proposal entitled Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, Easements, and Restrictions Imposed Upon the Subdivision of Land Owned by Mr. Verzillo. Mr. Verzillo, in this document, wants to have complete control over all the lots in the subdivision and the operation and maintenance of the stormwater drain system, including the gabion, which is what it is, not just a detention basin, on lot number 1 until the last lot is sold. Then the responsibility for the stormwater drainage system would be turned over to the homeowners association. There are a couple of things wrong with this covenant and document. 1, paragraph 1 of the document states that he is the owner of lots 7A and 7B. Land records in the town of Stonington tell a different story. 7B has not changed ownership. It is still owned by Mrs. Verzillo. She did not turn ownership over to Mr. Verzillo. She only gave him permission to pursue a subdivision of her property located on Burdick Lane. And her letter is in the record, her letter was put in the record. It's exhibit number 5. I have another copy that I will submit to the Candace, just to make sure that this is very clear, that she did not turn over ownership over to him. The second thing wrong with this document is that the proposal is very severely deficient in that it does not provide for a situation if Mr. Verzillo should pass away before the last lot is sold. Considering Mr. Verzillo is not a young man, the challenging topography of the lots on Burdick Lane, as well as the covenants attached thereto, these lots may not sell quickly. So to me, there is a distinct possibility that Mr. Verzillo may pass away before all the lots are sold. Then, who is going to be responsible for the maintenance and operation of the stormwater drainage system? This must be addressed in the declaration. So if you are considering accepting that declaration of covenants, I would strongly suggest that you make sure our town attorney reviews it and puts in additional language covering this scenario before you accept that covenant. Mr. Attorney Avina mentioned about the open space, which was lacking in the first very proposal. He testified that there's more than. I think it should still be checked to see if whether or not it meets the 15% requirement by subdivision regulation 8.1.1. And now to Commissioner Morrison's and others' concern for the existing residents on Fellow Street. When the Verzillo application was first submitted way back in July, and it's July when this started, the 2 abutting Fellow Street property owners should have been notified. That's a given. So I'm very surprised that they didn't mention that their neighbors had a future subdivision was being proposed next to them. The residents of William Street and Cortlandt Streets, which also had the potential for being connected as a through street to the Verzillo property, came out in droves that first night of the public hearing because they were worried that their streets would be used as a through street. Now, as far as Ms. Morrison's concerned, and she was referring to for Velvet Lane, in the Velvet Lane problem in Mystic, I don't think this is the same situation at all. And to go up Enterprise Avenue would involve a lot of blasting because of the ledge that's there, and going up there, if that happened, I know one neighbor's going to be very upset, and we would have a very circuitous way to get out of Burdick Lane in the case of emergency if we did not have that second exit. And as far as this future traffic on Fellow Street is concerned, I feel that humans are creatures of habit and that they would only use Fellow Streets if they were planning to go to Walgreens or to come to Town Hall or other points west. Otherwise, they would use Burdick Lane as they always have been using Burdick Lane. I think this route is also much better for the buses so that the bus does not have to back up into Oakwood Avenue and be a potential for an accident to happen. Now let's talk about the width of Fellow Street. In September of 1937, the adjacent Prospect Heights subdivision plan had 50 feet dedicated to the town for the purpose of building a road. Please note on the map that I already put in the record that 50 feet was provided. As you should recall, I also put deeds for the extension of Johnson Street and Oakwood Avenue into the record. Both streets in this neighborhood have had houses on them already, but the roadway was not up to town standards of 50 feet. Both maps show 50 feet being dedicated for the widening. What I am hoping you will realize is this. Mr. Verzillo's situation is no different. On the one hand, he is complying with bringing the extension of Fellow Street up to 50 feet, but on the other hand, he is not complying with the current road standard of 50 feet for Burdick Lane, as the plan only shows 41 feet. And Burdick Lane is a pre-existing non-conformity. It must be brought up to conformity by requiring an additional 9 feet to bring it into conformity with the current town of Stonington standards of 50 feet. We implore you to require 9 more feet to be dedicated to the width of Burdick Lane. The last comment is the 52 unaddressed items in Mr. Trinkus's review. Have they been addressed? In talking with him today, he told me the town is still waiting for a complete new set of revised plans before they get the stamp of approval from them. So, if you choose to approve this application tonight with the 4 stipulations as presented in the staff report, I would request that you also add an additional stipulation, which would be number 5, in addition, well actually maybe number 6 if we take Mr. Chuck's suggestion.
Built by Mr. Chuck.
Mr.
No last name.
Well, I keep getting you mixed up with somebody else.
That's okay, Carly, you're running out of time.
I have
so
one more paragraph.
I realize that. Please wrap it up.
I would ask you to put another stipulation in to require a bond to ensure that the sidewalks will be installed according to town standards. And I have a solution to Mr. Resendi's concern about not having all of this information. In my opinion, it would be better for Mr. Verzillo and his best interests if he withdrew the application tonight and took the time needed to file a complete and accurate application with all necessary plans and questions answered. Thank you for
Thank you.
and I'm going to submit my comments Who are the 6 members, who are the 5 members that are seated tonight? I only have copies for 5 members.
The only members that are seated for this application tonight are myself, Commissioner Morrissey, Commissioner Mendes, and Commissioner Belk.
Only 4?
Only 4.
Okay, thank you. I will give
Thank
you
you.
my,
I just want to restate, after that presentation, which was 10 minutes, that we don't have time for everybody to take the same amount of time, so please,
thank you for typing and thank you for your indulgence. I'm going to
thank
give
you, Carly.
this.
Next speaker is Dave Carter. Evening, Dave.
Good evening. Should I go here or does it matter? All right. For the record, Dave Carter. I live at 8 Burdick Lane, right across the street. And glad to be back. Last I spoke, I'll be quick, I promise. I expressed a concern about sort of the destruction of nature, the profit motive death drive of all that fun stuff, and sort of affordability of some of these properties. As one of the younger people, I question whether or not younger folks could afford new construction and might lead to some of these becoming second homes or Airbnbs, God forbid. But so some of those concerns are still extant for me. But with some of the sort of stuff brought up, I'm unclear at this point if these properties are going to be constructed on and then sold, or sold and then constructed on. Again, worried about the affordability of someone building a new home, especially if there's lots of blasting that needs to be happening, with the gradation of these properties. And also, I am personally concerned about said, blasting or whatever needs to happen to the ledge, living across the street, 200 feet away. Just some kind of assurance if and when damage to my house happens that there's someone I could talk to or some way I could, address that issue afterwards. And the other concern I had was around this gabion. That this is maybe just my unfamiliarity with what it is, but it sounds like it's just going to be a gravel pit surrounded by a fence. And that sounds like it's really going to be an issue for the appealing nature of our neighborhood. It sounds like it's going to bring down how the neighborhood looks. And yeah, those are my main concerns. A lot of it is around affordability to me, especially in construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Nancy Petrie. Evening, Nancy.
Hi. I'm Nancy Petrie. I live on 4 Cronin Avenue. It's along the lines of what Lisa Morrison was saying. Has anyone ever considered using Portland Street to go through? It's so much wider. It has stop signs. The way that Fellow Street comes out to Field, you're in the middle of a hill. There's not a stop sign for blocks. And the Field Street Hill is the Field Street Hill. I mean, it's like cars go fast. I don't understand how that is the viable option. And the developer and all of your people can say, it's not your problem, but you're causing a problem. Like bringing through there just seems so unsafe to me. So that's probably my biggest concern, along with the possibility of blasting. I'm not fond of that either. But I'm just wondering if anything else was considered. It seems like it was Fellow Street or nothing. I've been to quite a few meetings. I haven't heard about any other options than that. When Portland just seems like a better option. It's a much wider street. Fellow Street, maybe 30 feet. I mean, when it comes out on Field Street. It's very narrow. I don't know how you're going to do that at all. So anyway, that is my concern.
Thank you. Rosemary Bonacore. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Used
Close. Close from a man named Chuck. Just Chuck, Mr. Chuck.
My name is Rosemary Bonacore. I live at 1 Johnson Street with my partner Tim Brown, who's not here tonight. I would like
Turn the mic
to,
on.
first of all, where's the mic?
Just get closer.
Get closer. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Verizon commercial.
I think you can also hold it in your hand if you want.
First and foremost, I appreciate the fact that Mr. Vizzillo wants to develop his property. It is his right to do that. I would implore him and his staff to think about the sensitivity of the neighborhood and his neighbors with the density of the number of houses that he wants to put on his property. I think it's very disruptive to water, sewer, which does not run up Burdick Lane. I have a very old septic system, cesspool, excuse me, which is fine and functioning. But if there's blasting and sewer lines put in, it's going to disrupt. Second of all, the water drainage and HOA, really. So who are we calling when the water is running down Burdick Street and the drains are clogged and it's snow and leaves and ice? Is the HOA going to come in and help us? Number 2, the Fellow Street, and I appreciate Carlene's all her good works that she has done. I and Tim and several other neighbors on Johnson Street do not agree with the pass-through and connection of Fellow Street to Johnson Street. Top of that hill is a nightmare. I've seen accidents and I see bad water. Over the 10 years that I have lived there, the top of Burdick Lane and Johnson Street, has been torn up several times because there is a huge puddle of water that collects. It ices over, people have driven into trees, it's a dangerous intersection. So now you want to connect that to Fellow Street. I hope there are Fellow Street owners that are here tonight that have been told about this pass-through. Fellow Street is a cow path at best. I think it's a bad idea. Concern for the buses that turn around. There's probably 5 children that get on a bus up there. Can they get a smaller bus for the school department? Just saying. Also, sidewalks are important. They should be on Burdick Street. That's a hazard. The town and the engineers have to address that. And my last point, is this a planned development where people who are going in to purchase these hopefully affordable homes in the state of this economy and the world, are they understanding that they're going to have to be responsible for the streets and the water and the sewer and all of that? Maybe you want to consider fewer homes. Let's be a little green about this and think about the birds and the coyotes who were howling last night and the fox and all the ecosystem that will be disrupted. Not to mention the blasting and the ledge and the runoff and the grading. It just seems like it's not a good idea and I'm not in favor of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosemary. This next person, I'm not sure if it's Matt Berger or Matt Iser.
I apologize for the handwriting. Matt Berger for Johnson. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you all being here and your service in doing this night after night, and 3 nights for this especially, so thank you. When I spoke previously, my largest concern was the width of the road, whether or not the bus goes through, and I also would prefer that fellows remain a cul-de-sac, whatever. That's, I understand the applicant was responding to town comments, and I don't want to put them at catch-22 on that. But in any event, the road is still too narrow. I go up it at 7:15, and I have to drive on the dirt because there's a bus coming down. Okay, so I am concerned. It is true there are very few kids on the bus, I think there's only one child living on Burdick now, and she's a high school student, but hopefully that means there'll be more children coming at some point soon. I really have some major concerns about the safety of this project. I think Dr. Morrison was correct to raise the issue of safety on Fellows, but there's the same issue, if not worse, on Burdick. And there are starting to be children on Johnson Street for the first time since I moved there 27 years ago. And those kids will be going down Burdick Lane. The concern about the width at the intersection with Moss and the corner is valid and correct, and I appreciate the extra land being provided for that, but it doesn't go away once you make the turn. It remains equally unsafe. So I think you need to address that further before considering approval of this. In addition, I understand it was the town engineer's solution, or suggestion rather, in the comments I saw for Homeowners Association. I think typically you don't see many of those in New England because we have people like you. Homeowners Association is how you outsource government. And in New England, we've been lucky to have a lot of government by volunteerism. And in a lot of the rest of the country, you set up associations, you know, and you hear horror stories, but you also hear good things. But for something like this, I thought of the Surfside condo collapse in Miami, where no one on the association wanted to go to their neighbors and say, raise the bills, and if they did, they were voted off the board. And, you know, a similar situation could take place here. You're going to have a bunch of people on Burdick Lane who are supposed to privately collect the money and privately take care of it, but if they say we don't want to or aren't going to, I'm not sure that's any help. I have a little bit of a worry about mosquitoes in the detention basin at the bottom as another health concern. I don't know how that will necessarily drain. I know it's good to do it, but I had that concern. Looking at the declaration, number 7 said no subdivisions of any lots except to add to an adjacent lot. But then that would still create a nonconformity, because if you give 20 feet from Lot A to Lot B, Lot A is still going to be too small. So I didn't see how that prevented that from happening. I could be incorrect on that. Also, number 17 said, in the sole judgment of Mr. Verzillo, he can determine whether or not a violation is minor and insubstantial, and if so, waive it. And again, that is the concern with homeowners associations. That's a function for the town to retain to itself and through its outstanding zoning department to regulate that, not to set up a private association that honestly probably doesn't want to do this. So the current application, I think, I'm afraid, does create a road that's unsafe, too narrow, and I don't think the homeowners association is the proper solution to ensure that the maintenance is maintained. I've seen other places in Connecticut where there have been homeowners associations and they just went defunct. And even if you go past the middle school, I don't know if anyone knew, but there's Moss Park off of Lathrop Avenue. And the homeowners association is supposed to open that up, and we're all supposed to use that. And I think that was set up 40 years ago, and I don't even think there's a way in anymore. I believe accidentally perhaps someone built on the easement that gets you in. So, you know, that's why we have you, and I appreciate your being here. But it's not necessarily an ideal solution for all of us. We have an ideal solution in you and in our government, and I hope you would rely on that more than on the homeowners association. But most importantly of all, I heard Ms. Bunakori say, you know, that Fellows is a cow path. Burdick was a cow path. You know, the middle school was the Burdick farm, and this is how the cows went to the water, and the road has never been up to standard, and if you're going to put any more traffic on it, it just gets worse. So I think the road should be wider. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah, Clerk Giovanni. That's the, we'll ask that in the end, but I was going to give the applicant an opportunity to respond, and then we'll give anyone else who wishes to speak an opportunity. Again, if you could keep it as brief as possible, we're really running out of time.
Yeah, we don't want to start over again. I think a lot of the comments came from the last couple of months, and I think tonight we've addressed them. There's not much more we have to add, but to thank the commission for their time.
Okay, would anyone else like to make a comment on this subdivision? Again, I'd ask that you please be as brief as possible. I apologize, but we really are constrained for time.
I'm Ally Girallo. I live at 23 Russell, and I just want to bring it to the commission's notice that I actually have kids in the middle school, and when they come down on Field Street, last year for, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks, the amount of ice that formed right there on Fellows was so terribly bad that we had about 15 to 20 walkers that had to come all the way out into the middle of Field Street to get around there. There is some kind of issue there with the water buildup and ice. I actually made complaints to the town, and they would remove the snow, the ice, and then a couple days later, it would freeze back over there. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that that is a problem for the kids when they're walking down the street with the hill. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Hi, Colleen Quattromani, 68 William Street. I'll be real brief. There will be a drainage problem with this new build, so I don't know how you're going to solve it, but I am hoping you'll solve it. I've seen streams in my years at 68 William, 27 years. There'll be a river if those drainages are not taken care of.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commission have any further questions of this applicant or the engineer? I think the appropriate motion to close the public hearing is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for this.
Motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Dave. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Commissioner Morrissey. Thank you both. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing is closed. There will not be a vote on this evening. Okay, next item on the agenda is PZ 253 for SPA GPP Fair Housing of Connecticut LLC, represented by Matt Rinaldi from Shipman and Goodman. Site plan application, groundwater protection permit applications for an affordable housing project submitted pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 830G. Proposal consists of 83 single-family housing units and associated site improvements. Property is located at 207, 215, and an unaddressed parcel on Liberty Street, Foxton. Map block lot number 16, lot 4 lots 12, 12A, 13, and 14. Property is located in an LS5 zone. This public hearing is continued from November 3rd. I believe when we stopped, Matt, you were going to take some time to rebut the comments that had been made by the opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Matt Rinaldi from
I'm sorry, we need a motion to reopen we have it. Yeah, that's all. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to try and speak directly into this. Can everyone hear? I'm Matt Rinaldi from Shipman and Goodman on behalf of the applicant, Fair Housing of Connecticut LLC. Mr. Chairman, yes, you're correct. What we propose to do this evening, and we'll try not to repeat, except in our closing, obviously, to summarize, but try not to repeat what we presented. But what we have for you tonight is sort of responses to issues that arose or were discussed at the last hearing that we didn't rebut at the end of the hearing. We deferred till tonight. So with that, I'll give you a little bit of a preview. We'll have, really to cut to the chase, the two main issues that you'll hear about are the stormwater management system, as well as some follow-up on traffic, just to clarify some issues there. But a lot of it's going to be stormwater management, and then there were some just loose ends, which we'll cover along the way. So, if it's okay, I'll just proceed.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, this is application pursuant to 8-30G of general statutes. We're proposing 83 homes, all 3-bedroom homes on the subject property. I will, at the end of our presentation, discuss, because I've already presented it, the legal standard, which is slightly different for these applications. And of course, you can be advised by your staff on them as well, but I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the standard. We will go through we did go through the need for affordable housing in Stonington, so I won't repeat that, but I just want to remind you there's a detailed memo in the record documenting the acute need.
We can't hear you, Attorney.
Is that better? Okay. There's a memo in the record.
These are very sensitive.
Yeah, right next to it. I appreciate that. I'll try to remember. There is a memo in the record with a detailed summary of the need for affordable housing in Stonington. So we won't repeat that unless there are questions. As a reminder, what we have before you tonight is a site plan application. There is no zone text amendment or special permit. And just as a reminder to the commission members who maybe weren't here, early in the process we consulted with staff and with the town attorney about the proper application, and it is in fact a site plan application for this project. The site is served by public water and sewer, and what you're going to hear in response tonight is Sergio is going to present the updated information on the stormwater management plan, and in particular the wetland, gravel wetland that is proposed to renovate the stormwater, and he will tell you, but we have, I think, unanimous consensus or unanimous opinion of the experts that this system will have no increase in the peak rate of runoff or the total volume of runoff across all storm events, the 2-year storm to the 100-year storm. It will renovate the stormwater on every constituent to exceed what is required by the town technical standards, the Department of Environmental Protection's stormwater design manual, and the standards of the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center, which, although those don't apply to anyone, have been referenced by the town engineering staff and are stringent in themselves. And again, that's undisputed testimony. We've also provided you with a letter from Westerly Water, who was notified of the application at the request of the commission. We met with them, provided them our plans, reviewed them with them, and they provided a letter saying that they have no concerns that the system will operate correctly and will not impact the aquifer protection area. Also, just as a reminder, we also notified the Connecticut Department of Public Health, as we're required to do. The statute requires notification of the Department of Public Health when you're constructing projects in a drinking water supply area. And the reason for that is to allow the Department of Public Health to comment if it has any concerns. We notified them in August when we filed the application, and there have been no comments or concerns raised by the Department of Public Health. On the traffic side, you'll hear from Mike Dion, and he'll talk to you about we won't repeat the whole traffic study, which covered the level of service and all the other issues. Really, we'll focus tonight on the request from DOT that there be at least 19 feet of roadway, not a bypass lane, but adequate space for a car to bypass. And we'll also talk about the school bus routes and the request from the police department to install a crosswalk. But as a reminder, there's the traffic testimony is also undisputed that the level of service are adequate. The sight lines exceed the sight lines required by the state manual, and all aspects of the roadway, the accident data indicate there are no safety risks associated with the proposed development. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Sergio. Sergio, if you could walk through the plans that were submitted to the town engineer and then the town engineer response. Mr. Chairman, you'll remember at the beginning of the last hearing, you had received an email that was read into the record that they were satisfied that the plans addressed the runoff issues and the water renovation issues, subject to receiving the final or a finalized or updated set of plans. So
The memo was in the record, correct?
Good evening again. Once again, for the record, Sergio Terenzia with Terenzia and Associates. I'm going to bring up the plans in a moment, but I just wanted to first off just let the commission know, I think it was alluded to by Attorney Ranelli, that we worked pretty closely with the engineering staff and going back and forth with commentary and meeting with them. I just want to let you know that the engineering staff, Mr. Greenlaw and Mr. Trinkus, have been very accommodating, and we got their final letter and comments late this afternoon around 4 o'clock. They really went through everything in great detail, and I know the town engineer, Mr. Greenlaw, gets pulled in a lot of different directions. So we were appreciative of his time and their consideration and their recommendations, which we did our best to accommodate to make a better project and a better stormwater design. So I believe you have their letter. I'm not going to go into the detail of that letter. I might highlight a few things. I think the things that they recommended are prudent, and the last things that we need to accommodate, which can be done at final plan should the commission decide to act upon this and approve. If there's any stipulations, we're happy to accommodate the last commentary excuse me, of the town engineering staff. I wanted to address one, I think, significant misnomer. It's been brought up by the public, and I believe Ms. Downey, is that there's an increase in pavement from the existing condition on this, as related to this plan. I have an exhibit which I'm going to bring up, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm getting over a cold, and hopefully you'll all hear the last you'll hear from me tonight. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Hopefully this pops up. So this exhibit shows the proposal. I know it's a little light, but there's an extensive amount of pavement, which I want to just make sure everyone understands, is that this even beyond the building, there's a lot of asphalt surrounding this site in the current existing condition. In actuality, with respect to impervious pavement, there's a slight reduction in asphalt from the existing condition to the proposed. We still have to treat all this pavement, which we are doing successfully and by the numbers. But the existing pavement is just over 65,000 square feet, and the proposed condition is around 61,000 square feet. It's not a big change, but it's also not an increase. And one of the biggest concerns that I've been hearing, and are valid concerns, is the amount of asphalt, because that picks up a lot more pollutants than does the roof runoff does. Now, there is a significant increase in impervious area. That is, I don't want to mix the two, that we are treating appropriately. But as far as asphalt goes, this plan that we're proposing is a drastic improvement over what's the existing condition right there that is shown. So I want to just make sure that that was clear for the commission and for the rest of the public. I also want to make the point that our water quality, the proposed means that we are of addressing water quality and treatment, that we are getting a significant reduction in pollutants across the board because of the introduction of the gravel wetlands. I just want to reiterate those numbers. I know you've heard it before, but we are getting a total suspended solid removal of 96.2%. The state requires 90% removal because of the elevated requirements for the aquifer. Total phosphorus, we have a 62.1% reduction, 60% is required. Total nitrogens, we're removing 70.1%, and we're required to remove 40%. Zinc, there isn't a standard in the stormwater manual, but for the town, they wanted an 80% removal, which is 88.8% is what we're removing. For total hydrocarbons, we're getting a 97% removal rate on an 80% requirement. So I just wanted to make sure I put those once again on the record of that this system has a significant reduction in the constituents that we're targeting for pollutants. We'll also reiterate that we actually, modified the design slightly, increased the infiltration basin, but we are capturing a 2-year storm, which is, I believe it as stated in the town engineer's memorandum. The drainage report demonstrates a reduction for proposed peak rate stormwater discharges for all storms 2 to 100 year. Furthermore, the stormwater system intercepts, mitigates pollutants, retains, infiltrates, and the complete site runoff volume for the 2-year storm, which represents over 90% of all the annual storms in any given year on average. Our calculations show that we not only are decreasing the rate and the volume off of the property, but we're also capturing that 2-year storm, including the water quality. As Matt alluded to, that we're meeting all of the DEP stormwater quality manual requirements, and I believe in working with the town engineering that we've met all the town concerns and requirements as well. I'm just going to bring up the site plan just to go over some of the details. I just have to change screens here. Share the new screen. So, largely the site, I will say again, I think I made the testimony last time, hasn't changed significantly. We have made some minor changes to some walkways and connectivity based on some DOT comments. But this is largely the largest important part of our design. We're collecting everything, conveying it through catch basins and piping. But this is the system that we have recently modified and submitted to the town engineer, and they've taken into their recommendations and considerations. And just to kind of briefly go over it, there's a sediment forebay. That's where all your heavy sediments are going to get trapped, and that's the area that's going to get cleaned out on a periodic basis. These 2 gravel wetland cells, they're called. So water will follow over the sediment forebay. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more here too. And then into one of these cells, and then over to the next cell. There's and I can go through the detail if anyone wants to see it, but there's a series of under drains that move water through this system, and where they get the treatment. This will be planted with wetland type plants, and I believe Mr. Ballesteros, he can go into more detail, but those plants do not require a significant amount of maintenance. Usually you go 2 or 3 years before that needs to be cleaned out and cut back because of overgrowth. But that's where you're getting your treatment, is through that gravel media and the uptake of the plantings in that area. And that's where we get a lot of our water quality, and that's basically where the water quality treatment is happening, getting those pollutants knocked down significantly. From there, the larger portion of this is the infiltration basin. That's where your larger storms are going to get bypassed to and overflow to. And that system really is made, that portion of the system is made to take that clean water and put it back into the ground and infiltrate. So that's just a grass line basin, and we'll go in through the landscape plan, and it'll be dressed up with landscaping. You can see that we've put a fence around the entirety of this for safety and security, which will have appropriate access for the maintenance. But these systems, especially the gravel wetlands, don't require a significant amount of frequent maintenance, and even the infiltration basin, you're probably mowing it periodically, maybe a few times a year to keep the grasses down. But that grass is an important component of it to keep the soils able to infiltrate over time. One of the other items that the town engineer asked us to identify or accommodate was incorporating some of the stormwater from neighboring site runoff. I'll get a little bit into that, but we may revisit it. I just wanted to highlight it because it's on this plan. You can see that there's a catch basin that we've incorporated here, and that actually is taking stormwater runoff from the state right-of-way because it was coming onto the site and then bypassing around the site and coming around, and then I have photos where I can show you, but basically that water was coming across our site, getting across it and into the back where we have our proposed discharge. So the town engineer, we spoke with DOT and at the town engineer's request to see if we could actually overflow to the state right-of-way as opposed to adjacent property. And the answer was no, don't put your water onto the state highway. So we actually did the opposite and took some water off of the state highway. We're treating it through our system, containing it, and then discharging it. So not only are we taking the stormwater from the site, but we're also responsibly capturing it, storing it, and then letting that infiltrate from the state right away. With that, Matt, do you want to go into maintenance, or do you want me to continue on with the off-site drainage?
Just if you could, Sergio, if you could just note the subsurface investigation for the modeling that you used actual site-specific information.
So all of our site design is based on actual data that we have accumulated from the site. We've dug test holes, test pits out there, and conducted infiltrometer tests. Those are tests that are done with what's called a double ring infiltrometer. It's similar to a percolation test, but a little bit different, a little bit more reliable. It's what's approved by Mr. Trinkus and Mr. Greenlaw. That is what I think they're going to be very consistently requiring for applicants to do. And we did those tests, and we have identified what the infiltration rates on this site are. In so much that the infiltration rate is actually very high on this site. That is why it's so important that we clean this water before it goes into the ground. But the point that I think Attorney Ranelli wanted me to make is that all of the data and evaluations that we have done have been based on either site-specific information that we have collected and or good engineering practice and standards that we've applied.
Thank you, Sergio. Mr. Chairman, we'd like to, we'll defer to you, but we would like to move now to, you had some questions, and the public had questions about maintenance of the system. So if it's okay, we'll move on to that topic, and for that we have...
You had asked a question as to whether or not you would consider a maintenance bond.
Yes.
This requires detailed maintenance, frequent maintenance, so like in the 4-bay. There have been questions that what if it doesn't happen? Does it fall back on the town? The maintenance bond would be in place so to ensure that almost like a surety that the performance would remain in the private sector.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and we don't disagree. So what we did was that we asked our consultant Professor Ballesteros from the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center because he is an expert on these gravel wetland systems, to prepare a maintenance plan, which we've provided as part of our materials. And you'll hear from him that these are relatively low maintenance systems because they're natural systems, and that they're resilient. So he'll present the maintenance. But as to the other question about a maintenance bond, we would be willing to accept that as a reasonable condition of approval. Our request would be that it be, we would have to work with staff to come up with an appropriate amount for, we think, a year's worth of maintenance. And we'd also ask that it leave open the different types of financial assurance that, for example, the state uses, or, so we have a choice and not just simply a passbook bond. But obviously that's up to the commission. But in concert, we have no problem with providing comfort that the maintenance will be performed.
Actually, I don't think it's up to the commission. I think the commission can require a bond that's acceptable to our attorneys. So
yes,
that's probably the way that it would be worked out between the applicant's attorneys, yourself, and our attorneys, and I'm sure you could come to terms.
And that would be acceptable to us, yes. So if that's okay, we're on record accepting that, and I'll have Professor Ballesteros walk through the maintenance needed or recommended for these types of systems and the maintenance plan.
Again, we've got to move quickly here.
Yes, yep. Tom, are you on? Can you summarize? You're on mute. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Or you need to get closer to your mic.
Hold on 1 second. I don't think the audience can hear that.
We're turning up the volume. Hold on.
Can the audience hear everyone else that's speaking okay? Can we somehow bridge that so that we hold a microphone maybe in front of whatever our sound device is to amplify them?
Sound's coming out of a different
It is
speaker.
coming out okay?
Instead of the computer what the mic is next to, which was assumed, it's coming out of those speakers.
Can everyone hear it okay?
Can you put it back to the laptop and we'll move the mic next to it?
That's what we did last week. Now we got nothing.
All right. Why is he muted?
I think what you did was put the mic in front of the computer
Yeah,
speaker.
that'd be right next to it. How's that, Tom?
What do we do, lose the connection? No? Okay.
Test, 1, 2, 3.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, there we got it.
Is that working now?
Great.
Okay. So, Matt, you were breaking up a little when you handed it off to me, but my understanding is you wanted me to go over the maintenance protocols for the subsurface gravel wetland. Is that correct?
Yes, if you could summarize them in the interest of time.
Briefly.
Briefly. Very, very simple system. For inspection, look and see if there's any trash collected, especially where the water is going down the pipes, the risers into the stone below, or trash in general that would be removed. We've put these systems in a lot of different settings. They don't typically collect a lot of trash unless a lot of trash is generated near those locations. Aside from that, just any time after it rains, the systems should drain within 24 to 72 hours. That's by design. So if you see water ponded after 1 or 2 days after a rain, then water's backing up. Again, if they're not draining it, in the worst case, they're just acting as a detention pond. So that's what failure would look like if you consider that failure. They're still improving water quality. For the systems we put in, the oldest system that we had was 18 years old. We tore it apart 2 years ago just to study where it was removing pollutants and how the pipes had held up over all those 18 years. And the system held up perfectly. The only maintenance we had to do was every 3 years, cut everything that's growing above the ground, remove that, and rake up all the dead detritus, because what was happening was after 3 years, all the plant material that died over the winter would start to decompose and start to release the nutrients. Aside from that, they do a very good job at reducing total petroleum hydrocarbons, metals, the nutrients, and microorganisms, which no one's really talked about. And then to wrap it up, this system flows into the infiltration system. Very simple to maintain. You're basically mowing it a few times a year just to keep the trees and the bushes out of there. And so that's basically it for maintenance. It's mowing and gardening.
Thank you, Tom. And they have, Mr. Chairman, in the record, the proposed maintenance plan. And Tom, could you just then conclude with your professional opinion if the system will operate as designed?
Yes. I didn't, you were breaking up a little bit, but you were asking me that I would attest to that the system will operate as designed?
Yes.
Sure. So I'm basing my statement on the fact that I've monitored a dozen of these systems or more, and invariably they all outperform our expectations. Even systems that are sized for down to 1/10 of an inch of runoff, they have remarkable water quality improvement. So given my experience as well as my professional engineering background, I'm very confident that the systems will perform superbly.
Thank you, Tom. If you just stay on the line if there are questions later. Thank you.
So Matt, that raises the other question that we brought up. I'm sorry for interrupting here, but and that was that in addition to maintenance bonding, monitoring, testing a monitoring plan to ensure that it's performing as designed. So frequent sampling and test results.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I'll bring Tom back on. We recall that, and so we asked Tom to prepare a sampling plan, although, as you know, none is required under the regulations or any of the standards that apply. We, again, want to provide the Commission with maximum comfort. We think we have a great system, so we're happy to do that. And Tom has designed a sampling plan that I believe calls for a certain number of samples after certain rain events. Mr. Chairman, as you know, that's the time to do it. And if I know we're short on time, I could ask him just to kind of give you a high outline. And again, because this isn't a regulatory...
I've seen the plan in the record. I just wanted to get it on the record for the public.
Yeah, it's on the record, and because it's not a requirement of the regs, we're happy to work with staff, make it a condition of approval, and we'll work with staff if there are any changes to it. But there is no regulatory standard, so I think we're fine doing that. All right, thanks, Tom. You're off the hook for that. All right, so the next topic that came up at the last meeting was the neighboring site. The owner of that site had indicated that their property occasionally accumulates stormwater, so we did ask our team to look at that, and Sergio delved into it a little bit already about, we think one of the main sources of water is probably coming off of Liberty Street, and as he said, we've agreed to, again, although this is not required under any of the standards, we've agreed to take some of the state highway runoff and treat it, and the expert opinions are unanimous that the result will be a decrease in total volume input flow leaving our site. So do you want to just quickly address with the photos and the discussion of capturing some of the state runoff?
Right. So before I brought up the site plan that showed the state highway, the runoff, I have a few photos that I wanted to share. This is directly up up gradient and up road, further up the road to the north of the adjacent property to the south. Our stormwater system would be, is proposed to the left on this photo. And this is the area which I alluded to coming off of the state highway. There's no, you can see there's no curb here. There's a crown in the road, but until you get a little bit further down Liberty Street, stormwater does not remain in the road. It gets onto the site. You can kind of see, I know it's a little blurry, but there's some water puddling and it's actually moving through. I took this during a significant rain event. And that water is coming off of the pavement onto the property. You can see this isn't pavement here. This is actually a depth of water that's flowing through our property and then down to the adjacent property and intercepted by the driveway, and some of it gets onto the property, upgrading onto our property, and then it either goes on either one side or the other side of the garage. But the point being is that this water is coming down here, either getting onto our property or the adjacent down this driveway based on just some existing conditions. And we wanted to make the point that we're going to be intercepting that water and sending it through our system to hopefully alleviate this, at least what we can of this problem. We can't stop the water that's coming down, this driveway if it already does, because that's the neighboring property's issue. If that water's coming off of the right of way here and down the driveway, that's an existing condition which we can't help. But we're going to do what we can in consultation with the town engineer, that we will capture this water before it gets down and onto the adjacent property and run it through our system, which, as we have pointed out, is reducing the peak discharges from the site and including taking in this water as well.
Thank you, Sergio. Moving along, Mr. Chairman, we're just kind of hitting the issues that came up. There was also a letter in the record from Deb Downey that raised a number of issues, some of which have been covered already in earlier parts of the presentation. But just to summarize, in part, the letters from Ms. Downey, I know she submitted another one prior to this.
Do you have a copy of that?
We did receive a copy of it, yeah, I believe yesterday or today. And so I will not go line by line, but in summary, one of them is, what I would call speculation, that she suggests that somehow or another, because Westerly Water reviewed our plans and said that they were adequate and that they had no concerns, there was speculation that, well, maybe Westerly Water is not adequately concerned, and that somehow the DEP and the DPH had suggested to her that that may be the case. And I would just say that's really hearsay. There's nothing in writing to indicate that. There's really no evidence anywhere of that. Westerly Water obviously has a legal obligation to provide drinking water. If anyone's motivated to protect that aquifer, it's them, because it costs them money to renovate it. So I would just say that, respectfully, is speculation and hearsay. And again, as I pointed out earlier, that it also, the fact that DPH is not, the Connecticut Department of Public Health has not raised any concerns, also suggests that they don't have concerns either with this regard. There is also the claim that that there was an increase in paved surfaces, and that would increase the risk to the aquifer. And again, that's simply not the case. As Sergio has pointed out, it's pretty mathematical. The amount of paved surface is slightly reduced, but even if you considered it essentially the same, it's still an improvement, because all of those paved surfaces are now being treated, and exceeding the renovation requirements, whereas under existing condition, a larger amount of pavement was untreated. So if anything, this project will improve the protection of the watershed, and that's, I think, undisputed in the expert testimony. And then, and I also point out that in addition, that because in our redesign, we have most of the cars parked in garages, so when rain events occur, cars, which often carry contaminants from roadways, will not be out exposed to the rain, they'll be in garages. So that will, if anything, lighten the load of that first flush of runoff. Again, contrast that with existing conditions where all the parking was out in the open, so any contaminants that were on the cars that were parked would be sort of taken with the rain into the first flush. So again, there's every reason to believe that this system is more protective and involves less paved surfaces. The rest of the impervious surfaces are roof surfaces, which don't have the same constituent profile, and in the town's technical standards actually don't have to be treated, although we are treating all of the roof runoff as well. Ms. Downey also raised the issue of salt use, and it is, we don't dispute that everywhere in Connecticut and in Stonington, salt is used in the winter season for public safety, and can be mixed with sand. We checked with the town Department of Public Works. They, in fact, use salt products as well in this very area. So we would certainly accept as a condition of approval that we will use the same product or equivalent product that the town uses in this area, on West Line and other areas. We're happy to do that. And in addition, we would also accept as a condition of approval that we provide our snowplow contractor with a copy of the state's Green Snow Pro manual. This is state of Connecticut's program to try to green snowplowing around the state. It's not mandatory, it's a voluntary program, sort of a certificate. And I will say to the town of Stonington's credit, they're one of the towns whose public works officials have attended the Green Pro seminars. So we will take that as a condition of approval and employ best practices. But at some point, all of the public roads, and our site included, will need to use salt products, and we will obviously employ best management practices. But again, with the reduction in paved area, there's no reason to think that amount of salt would exceed what would have been applied to the existing paved surfaces were Rossellini still in operation, or if it were to restart. There's simply less paved area to salt. Yeah, I guess the other thing I would say is, it is clear from Ms. Downey's letter that she is opposed to this project for other reasons other than areas of her expertise in hydrology. And so, we respectfully reserve our position that she may not really qualify as an expert in that regard, not by credentials. She's certainly an expert by credentials, but if she's not disinterested for other reasons, that is one of the hallmarks of expert testimony. And we would also point out that while she is an expert in hydrology, she's not an expert in stormwater management design, and all the experts in stormwater management design agree that this system will have the results that we've already covered. So I say this again, we appreciate the comments. It's not to be critical, but when you're evaluating the evidence in the record, these are important points for you to consider. Okay, and then
we've got to try to move on.
Yep.
As soon as we can.
The next issue.
We've got 2 more applications after this.
Okay, I think we have one more issue, and then the traffic, and we're almost there. So the other issue that we received a lot of comments on were the internal site circulation and pedestrian movement. So what we'd like to do is show you that the internal circulation is pedestrian safe. So Sergio has an exhibit where we basically showed walking routes from all the various buildings to access sidewalks on the site. So Sergio, if you want to go ahead.
Yep. Sorry, I'll try to make this quick. So the exhibit I just brought up, what I did was very simply highlight all of the pedestrian ways that each unit can get through. I think it's well known now of the walkways that are in between there's one behind building A, there's one between building B and C, and then there's a sidewalk that runs in between buildings E, G, must have to read, and H. That's this sidewalk here. But the point being is that each unit does have safe passage along one of these walkways in order to get to the bus stop, to circumnavigate the entire property, albeit some of these access ways may not be formal walking paths, and some of them require crossing a roadway, an internal roadway. There is the ability to get to a close sidewalk or a walkway in order to have safe haven from vehicles in order to get to where you would like to walk to anywhere within this, anywhere within the development. So I will just reiterate also that we have exhibited that, you know, emergency vehicles can also circumnavigate this site. We've got, approvals from the fire marshal has reviewed it, fire chief, that you can get the largest ladder truck in and out of this site and all around it as well. So I believe that we've adequately identified that as well.
Thank you, Sergio. Mr. Chairman, we also have,
Can I just ask a quick question? Just to clarify, are you putting a sidewalk along the road now? The path that goes along the roadway, is that a new sidewalk?
There's a walkway in this portion.
Yep.
Because the DOT asked us to put in these ADA crossings and a crosswalk across. So we ended up adding connectivity to some of the walkways that we already had. This is not a walkway. From this area here down to here to the bus stop, that is not a formal walkway. That is just going to be grass. But it doesn't preclude someone from walking through there. The remaining areas that are in orange are either crossing, the ones that are crossing the pavement are not walkways, but the remainder are mostly walkways.
Can the audience ask a question?
No, you will have an opportunity to ask a question through the board. But there's no dialogue directly between the audience and the applicant.
and thank you, Sergio. Mr. Chairman, and obviously we, spoke with Clifton earlier. If the town ever brings the sidewalks up Liberty Street, we would provide the right of way to install sidewalks in front of this property as well, and frankly would be a benefit because people could walk all the way downtown. We also have some photos, which I'll just hand up a copy of other developments around Connecticut. This is just a sort of random survey that are similar outlay where they have access to the units in a sort of paved area that acts both as an apron for the garage, but also a travel way. And as you know, we have 24 feet of travel way, and then we have 6 additional feet on either side, which is in the area where the apron for the driveways and the front doors are. So again, this is not an unusual practice for people to walk in that area, especially with low moving vehicular traffic. So we just have a couple of photos, which I'll hand up when we hand up all our photos from the exhibits at the end. The next issue really involves the Mike Dion will present. Again, we're not going to repeat traffic. It's just the issue of the crosswalks that were requested and the school bus pickup, and then the 19 feet of road space that the DOT inquired about.
Thank you. For the record, Mike Dion with BL Companies, professional engineer in Connecticut and professional traffic operations engineer. Essence of time, I will be fast. Some of the things that were brought up at the last meeting were the fact that the police commission has requested a crosswalk, that they will submit a letter to DOT, and we'll get this sorted out in the encroachment permit process. The concerns I have with the crosswalk is that there are no sidewalks on either side of Liberty Street, so it's really a crosswalk to nowhere. You have to install pedestrian ramps on either side that nobody can get to. So again, if required, we will work it out with DOT. My suggestion would not be to put it mid-block in between the driveways. My suggestion, next slide, would be to put it at Pine Street. There's already a light fixture there. Obviously, we would design it as as appropriate as it needs to be for safety with the appropriate signage. And if the lighting needs to be upgraded, we would upgrade the lighting. But again, this is all contingent upon DOT, and we will work it out with them. The next issues were actually that DOT coordination. We did receive the comments from DOT back in September. We actually met with DOT virtually early in October, and I think that's where some of the confusion comes from. Part of that, the telephone conversations we had in the meeting, was that they brought up the bypass, the 19-foot pavement. They had mentioned both driveways in the meeting, but again, everything we do in traffic has numbers and there's backup that's required for it. There are actually warrants for putting in bypass lanes and left turn lanes. This doesn't meet any of the warrants at either driveway for it, but the DOT person in the district still would request that at the northernmost driveway, we prove that there's 19 feet of space. So that's what we are going to do, and we'll provide them with that documentation. And we'll also, they asked for sightline diagrams. We're going to provide those as well, which are part of this presentation. So what I do show there, if you go back, is that there is 19 feet of pavement there. I actually have 2 Chevy Suburbans in there so that you can see that side by side they're a little over 16 feet, so that leaves 3 feet for either side of the car to take the bypass. So we do show that we do have that pavement width there, and one of the larger vehicles on the road can actually side by side make that movement. Next is the sight lines. So we, our traffic study actually looked at the sight lines, and we brought it up to DOT. DOT had requirements that they asked us to do that we show sight lines that's 575 feet out there. So in our traffic study looking at it, we estimated the speeds were a lot higher out there than what DOT said. So our study is even more conservative. The next page actually shows what we can see with our sight lines. There are 2 different sight lines we look at, stopping sight distance and intersection sight distance. Stopping sight distance is the cars on Route 2 being able to see somebody pulling out in front of them and stopping in time before they impact the vehicle or impact a child or something in the roadway. Intersection sight distance is the cars coming out of the driveway looking left and right, and they can see far enough to make the maneuver safely. DOT is requiring 575 feet. We actually, looking at it, there's a lot more distance out there available. It's about 750 feet. So we are going to prepare these diagrams, and we're going to send over to DOT as part of the encroachment permit. You can't see it here, but the next slide, you can see looking out of the northernmost driveway, left and right, you can see that there's nothing impacting the sight distance either direction. So we're showing that we meet their 575 feet. Looking to the left, you can see where the bus stop is. It's not going to impact the sight triangle, so that we have our adequate sight distances there. Next slide is the southernmost driveway. We have the same situation that we're going to show that we meet the 575 feet for the department. Next slide shows the zoom in, so you can see that nothing's impacting the sight triangle, so you can see far. The next issue that was brought up was the bus stops and the bus stopping on Route 2. Again, state law requires that vehicles stop for the stop signs. If they're not, enforcement needs to be upgraded. There are cameras that can be put on buses. I'm not aware that Stonington has those. I don't know what process you have to do to get those, but again, if you start giving people tickets, they'll start obeying the law. And we also looked at, Gene and Gino were kind enough to go out and watch the buses drop off. And actually the bus in the evening came up north on Route 2, let kids off on the east side of the road, turned into Glasgow, turned around, came down and let children off on the west side. So the kids were not crossing the street to get on the bus. Next slide is, again, just a reminder that this is going to go back to we're going to have to get an encroachment permit for all these things, and the DOT is going to keep looking at it until we get satisfied them. Next slide, I just want to reiterate what we did. No change in level of service at any of the driveways. The driveways, again, operate at adequate level of service, and we're not impacting the traveling public. Sight distances are adequate, and we do, again, have our recommendations for stop signs, stop bars, intersection ahead sign for the northernmost driveway. And again, reiterate that part of our due diligence as traffic engineers is the critical things we're looking at is level of service, making sure that we're not impacting the public, looking at the existing crash data to see if there's any existing patterns that we can remedy and help alleviate and fix so that there are not going to be those crashes, and to make sure sight distances are adequate, to make sure that all the movements can be made safely. And this project meets all those criteria, so we're confident that it's the infrastructure can handle the project and that it's designed correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And Mr. Chairman, we have a copy of the bus schedule, which we'll also provide before we close, that shows the bus going up the east side and making stops coming down the west side. The last issue I think we want to address, subject to questions and subject to closing later, is in the comments there's been discussion of providing a school impact study. And again, the reminder is that this is not a special permit application, so no school impact study is required for the application. We did, however, get on the state's website and did a 10-year look back, and enrollment in Stonington school districts is on a 10-year decline from 2,174 students in school year 2015 through 2016, and then 1,722 in 2024 through 25. And we also looked at the enrollment for each school within the district, and those are a little bit of a mixed bag, but suffice to say, for the past 5 years, they've all been in decline or level. And we know there are some other issues going on with the school facilities, and the town is setting up a school building committee for possible expansions. But the short of it is, this really isn't a zoning issue. It's not a criteria, and the data shows there's a decline in enrollment, pretty significant over the 10-year trend. Likely because that's happening all across Connecticut. So, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. We're trying to be as quick as we can, but it's important for us, as you know, to address the issues that came up. That's all we have for right now.
I do understand.
And we'd just like to take your questions.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant or the attorney with regard to any of the additional information which has been provided here? Okay, then I guess we need are we comfortable going to public input at this point?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
List? Express our gratitude to the audience in this case. We'll ask if there's anyone. Okay.
More gratitude.
Let's see.
Fair housing. You might have to flip it over.
One of these is on, I'm sorry, this was Wacky. This is fair housing. Is fair housing the same as Beachway? Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right, so we do have several folks that have spoken up, that have signed up. Wow. I'm not sure what this first name is. It's going to be Sam McGadney. Oh, okay, Sam. Yeah, now I recognize it.
Good evening. First thing I want to address is the assertion that Sergio made about the asphalt and how they're reducing the amount of asphalt on the property. How they're reducing the amount of asphalt on the property. I don't know if that takes into consideration the asphalt shingles that are being used on that property, so if you take that into account, that may increase the amount of asphalt runoff into the stone drainage system. Second thing I just want to address quickly is the initial application called for no salt being used for snow management on the site, if I'm not mistaken, and now all of a sudden they're changing that and saying that they can use it. I don't know how that affects the stormwater management system, but I think that's something that needs to be looked into. The main reason why I got up here tonight was to address a safety-related concern regarding the proposed entrance on the planned north side of the complex, which will affect vehicular and pedestrian traffic attempting to enter and exit this development, adjacent public roads, and those traveling east and westbound on Route 2. The entrance to this complex is being relocated from its existing location approximately 60 feet planned north, bringing it closer to the location of where the two-lane highway converges into a one-lane road at Glasgow Road. With this information, I think it's important to cite a traffic study conducted by this Connecticut DOT between February 21st and 23rd of 2024. The information obtained comes from a Connecticut DOT website, and the traffic count station being referenced is labeled on the CT website as Stonington 69. The station measured using the measurement tool provided on the same DOT website was positioned 290 meters, or approximately 950 feet from the current main entrance of the applicant's property. The online information allows you to filter the count by direction and speed, which I focused eastbound traffic, which is traveling planned south on the project documents. On the 3-day period of the study, 11,809 vehicles traveled from this station eastbound, which is planned south, towards this applicant's property. The speed limit on this portion of the road is 45 miles an hour. Of those vehicles, 11,274, or 95%, exceeded the speed limit with an average speed of 57 miles an hour. In addition, 28% of this traffic, 28% exceeded speeds, in addition, 28% exceeded the average speed, with some clocking in speeds in excess of 70 miles an hour. Using the same measuring tool available on the DOT website, the distance from Glasgow Road to the current main entrance of this property is 55 meters, or approximately 180 feet, which is now shortened by an additional 60 feet to accommodate the relocation of the entrance, which leaves a stopping distance from Glasgow Road to the new entrance of approximately 120 feet. Taken from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's participant training manual, a vehicle traveling between 50 and 60 miles an hour will require between 221 and 292 feet of stopping distance to come to a full stop, which is well beyond what is available from Glasgow Road to the new complex entrance, and as a result may lead to injury or death for motorists, pedestrians, or damage to properties located between the development's proposed new entrance to Glasgow Road. Using the same information from the NHTSA training manual, a vehicle would need to be traveling between 30 miles an hour as it entered the two-lane to one-lane area at Glasgow Road to achieve these stopping distances. As I understand it in a letter provided by the Connecticut DOT, a turn lane on Route 2 is a required component of the DOT's approval. But to the best of my knowledge, there's been no public documentation that indicates the intent to provide a turn lane or in what manner this requirement will be achieved. Due to the speeds indicated previously, the absence of a turn lane is a major safety concern, and the safety of the public necessitates the need to have this major detail designed into the project prior to its approval. I understand that the statistics I provided is a lot to process, and I have the documentation with links and information here with me, which I'll be happy to leave for the committee to review. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Who do I leave these with?
We'd love a copy of it, yes. Okay, so the next person is from 23 Russell Avenue, First and Alley. Again, I ask you to be as brief as possible.
Absolutely. My name's Allie Girello. I live at 23 Russell. After I'm done speaking, I have a handful of letters from residents of Stonington who aren't able to attend these meetings due to time and children and other activities that are going on at this time. I am still concerned about the accessibility. Sidewalks don't reach all open spaces. I know that Farrah Garland had sent an email in there and discussing the accessibility. We have the pedestrian exhibit. We have people going back and forth. We have people going crossing people's garages. We have people walking on unlit backyards that there's no pathway. It's going to be incredibly dangerous. I'm still concerned about the bus stops. It mentioned about the Connecticut Department of Transportation website, and it estimates that 10,400 vehicles go on this road each day. And so when we count down between 6 to 9 a.m. when kids are waiting for the bus stop, we're talking 409 cars that go 51 to 55 miles per hour, 365 cars going 56 to 60 miles per hour, 212 cars going 61 to 65 miles per hour, 85 cars going 66 to 70 miles per hour, and 27 cars going 71 plus miles per hour. And we are asking them to stop quickly. Between 2 to 4 p.m., we're looking at 455 cars going 51 to 55 miles per hour, 356 cars going 56 to 60 miles per hour. I mean, we're talking 78. That is what people are going on in 78, and we're asking them to stop for a left turn. We're asking them to stop for a crosswalk, and we're asking them to stop quickly for buses. We have 169 people going 61 to 65 miles per hour, 71 cars going 66 to 70 miles per hour, and 15 cars going over 71 miles per hour. There is a crest going northbound, making it very hard to see. I have 2 pictures here. And so when you look at the car, and I'm going to submit this as well, you see the car, and then you can barely see the top of the car because there is a crest there. So if you are coming southbound, you are not seeing the crosswalk or the driveways until you are literally on top of it. The Connecticut Department of Transportation letter, I'm very interested in this because specifically in their newest letter, the letter that they had in there, it said it wasn't about conversations that they had on the telephone. It was more about the plans. So I'm really curious to see what the Connecticut Department of Transportation is going to say about this. The aquifer is still concerned. We have 4 experts, Trinkus, Downey, Ballestero, and Ferrari, who all say that contamination can occur. Ballesteros suggested last meeting that monitoring isn't for the faint-hearted. He also suggested that the best thing to do is to have someone living next door to monitor every storm. I want to remind you that the owner is a Florida resident. So he has to spend a considerable amount of time of the year in Florida. Ferrari stated that caution always recommended in these situations, and that we are always concerned about the aquifer. Maintenance. There doesn't need to be a lot of maintenance that their team had said, but there's been no discussion about what happens when a drought occurs. 2 to 3 times mowing per year, but you have to go out there and you have to water if there is a drought. We keep experiencing in the summer major droughts, so we have to have somebody out there to make sure that those plants survive. One of the major things about the gravel wetland is salt intake, because it kills the plant life. And so they're talking about allowing sand and salt. But now we're talking about Connecticut Department of Transportation. We're taking on that water and we're letting it filter into our system. Connecticut Department of Transportation is not going to say, oh, we're approaching 215 Liberty. Let me stop and make sure that this is green. They're going to go up and down with the salt, and now the infiltration with the plants are going to be damaged. We also need to address that the largest stockpile of snow is still near the gravel wetland. If you look on there, that southbound driveway still has the largest stockpile. They have not addressed that. I will end the night, I'm trying to make it as quick as I can, with a quoting of Mr. Ferrari from last meeting. Anyone who suggests that nothing can go wrong is an idiot or a fool. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Tom Terrell. New information, please, Tom, only.
You got it, sir. I'm going to be quick, and I'm going to be legal. I've given you a lot of case law in the times that I've talked to you about this. You guys got to go fight this thing. You have good case law on your side. It is time to draw a line in the sand or the salt. Let me talk a little bit about some of the legal aspects of this case. Mr. Rinelli had the temerity to criticize Deb Downey, call some of it hearsay. The case law allows you to disbelieve their experts. My wife just made an excellent point about what a fool or an idiot would think. Only one set of experts in this case was paid in which to provide their testimony. Deb Downey certainly was not. I ask you to keep that in mind. A couple other points to respond to that are safety concerns through the course of this. Mr. Rinelli suggested that many of the cars will be parked in their garages, so that will not be adding to the pollutants. That is ridiculous. People do not do that. We have the 800 square foot, 3-bedroom house proposal of 84 of them. People's cars are going to be in their driveway and their garage is going to be for storage. Anybody who has a family knows that. That is a silly thing to bring up. Keep that in mind because it's a contaminant opportunity here. We had an opportunity, myself, to meet with school administration today. I beg of you, you ask the school if they need a school impact study. You ask the school if they had a sudden influx of 30 students into a middle school that cannot accommodate them. Go and ask them what they think. If these guys won't do it, please do it. The population statistics you're looking at are not reflecting the reality that the administration is facing. The space is limited. That is a safety issue. You need to incorporate this into your analysis. It's being completely underserved in this entire process. It is critical, and I think it really matters for the determination of this project. In closing, what I want to say to you is the following. You get one chance when it comes to the water. You get one chance when it comes to Liberty Street. The schools are counting on you. Small businesses are counting on you. Small farms are counting on you. Residents are counting on you for the safety of their water, the safety of their children, the safety of motorists on this roadway. If you approve this project, which has only been made slightly less bad than it was last time, what is the next one going to look like when they come to you and say, well, you let that one through? What comes next? At some point, you've got to put your foot down, say no, take the fights to the court. I defend lawsuits every single day of my professional career. It ain't that bad. You'll get through it. But you've got to draw a line somewhere. The precedent looks really bad if you approve this one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes the list. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Please, new information.
New information. It was a question that I had that I had to wait with. Could we have a picture where you showed the sidewalks again? Is that possible, or does that go very slowly?
You want to look at
What's that? The picture with
Can
the
you show the
sidewalk.
sidewalk picture again?
all questions need to be directed to the chair.
Right.
Okay. Can we see the sidewalk?
I just asked the
Thank
applicant.
So my question is on that, where that yellow square is right now. Oh, it just went away.
We know where it is.
Okay, that bank of houses, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's quite a number that go at an angle up. And there are these lines that are almost the color of the sidewalks, but are not, because they cross the street. How many feet are there between what is built and the actual road? Is that the front door? Do those people step right into the road? How does that work? Right there.
I think they're showing that the steps are 6 feet wide. Step out onto a 6-foot step before you step into the road.
Into the road, directly into the road.
But you don't step out the front door onto the road. You can answer the questions.
That's good.
I'm seeing also the picture with a slight column. Is this the same row of buildings here? Is that?
Please, direct your questions to us.
Okay. I'm asking if this is what I was just looking at with the yellow square, this here. So people step right into this.
Sergio, why don't you look at the overhead projection and just explain how someone steps out the front door. Are they on a step? It looks like it's a covered step.
Yeah, so each one of these units has a covered, small covered porch area. That's going to be, I believe, it's either raised or a flush, I don't recall. But in any event, there is a haven here that's covered. And then from there, you can walk across the road, which is 24 feet wide.
That answer your question?
That answers my question, yeah.
Okay.
It just seems like a very direct road approach.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak? Should there anyone address, please?
Denise Pearson, 104 Castle Hill Road. Retired teacher, and this is my second meeting, and I live where the aquifer, and I really took offense about Deb Downey, who has been a steward for us for many years in Stonington, and what she says we believe in, and I hope you do too. And as a former teacher, the impact study needs to happen, and I know it's a special permit that they say that they would need, but it is impacting the schools. And once you impact the schools, you have 83, 84 units with lots of children that are first going to be in danger by a very difficult street. No matter what they say, I am not convinced, and I so hope you're not convinced. We can use something better at that space, a community center, a senior center, something smaller, not that big. We know affordable housing is an issue. We're not against that. We're against this project. It is not for us. Please consider it and think about the schools. Talk to the principals. You've already had portables going to Pawcatuck. We don't need that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? New information, please, sir. Please just vote.
Michael Murphy, 1 Glasgow Road. I think the commission needs to have a little more information on the actual turning lanes. My property is right across and will probably be taken for one of those turning lanes. So I myself is a property owner, and I think the commission should look into what's going to be taken, if anything's going to be taken. That's my concern right now. Against everything else that I've had on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else. Matt, do you wish any rebuttal?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, we'd like to just rebut quickly and close. So there were a couple of comments. One thing I'd like to do, do we have the video? We have a video of the school bus pickup and drop off, and it shows, everyone stopping. This is normal practice for anyone who drives around here. I don't think we have our
Flash drive. Flash drive.
It's on the flash drive.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll be able to show it to you right now. So, but we did go out and observe that, and traffic observes the law. It is actually the largest civil fine that the police can issue is going by a bus. There were some comments about the cars and the number of cars and speeds. That is all covered in our traffic report, and I won't have Mr. Dion repeat, but in the slide he just showed you today, we used a design speed of 65 miles an hour, even though this really is an enforcement issue. If everyone is so concerned about the speed, the town ought to enforce it, but we actually anticipated a higher speed, and the sight distances exceed the stopping distance required for that. And again, that's in the slides that we presented tonight. It's also in the prior traffic reports. And the question of salts from the state highway, the fact of the matter is the salts from the state highway go into the aquifer now. That road is crowned, so by us treating them, that runoff, it's true it doesn't treat the salts, but it treats all the other constituents, so that does make the aquifer better protected. And again, salt is the amount of salt the state uses already exists, and the amount we'll use is less than would be used on the existing condition. So what I'd like to do then, Mr. Chairman, I think that's all of the comments. We'll rely on our testimony in the record. Mr. Arganese would like to make a short statement, and he has it written, so he will provide the written statement, and then I'll just close.
You could paraphrase and provide it. I know it's been a long time since. Go ahead.
Over the people who contacted you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is, for the record, my name is Gene Arganese. I'm a second-generation real estate developer with over 37 years of experience and practice in the Connecticut area. And my third generation is here right now, two of my children who actually work with the business. I want to address the critical need for affordable workforce housing. And I use the word workforce housing because that's exactly what it is. It's workforce housing in our area. Over the past year, I've received unusual high numbers of inquiries from people asking how to get on the list in this community. And the demand is enormous, and the supply is extremely limited. The quality of our workforce affordable housing, a family must earn between $58,000 and $110,000 per year to qualify for this project, which is your basic workforce person. I attended the State of Connecticut Housing Authority seminar via Zoom yesterday, where they discussed this growing crisis. The people who qualify for our housing include those who serve the community every day: healthcare workers, construction workers, ambulance drivers, police officers, firefighters, teachers, school facility employees, town employees, and seniors looking to downsize on fixed incomes. I have received hundreds of inquiries about how I want to share two recent conversations that stood out. The first was with a young woman in her early 40s. She works full-time as a nurse at Westerly Hospital. She said, and I quote, "I've been working at Westerly Hospital for over 9 years, and I'm forced to drive over 45 minutes each way when there is no traffic, and much longer in the summer months. I can't find anywhere near my job that is affordable and suitable for my family. My peers and I have been following your project in Stonington and hope you will consider us when this much-needed new construction project is approved." And the second conversation was with a woman asking how to get her 80-year-old father on the list. He has lived in Stonington his entire life. He doesn't want to move to Florida like many of his friends have had to do because of affordability. He simply wants to remain in his hometown and downsize into a newer, smaller home, something that feels more like a home than a mid-rise apartment complex going up in town. These conversations mirror the many others I've had over the last year. They are all similar in nature. And I'll tell you, in my 37 years of developing, Matt did our first one 30 years ago in Trumbull, Connecticut. And this is the first time in 37 years that I've seen this much demand for affordable housing. It's especially troubling when our own children who finish school and trying to start their lives cannot afford to live here. Many of them are being forced to leave the area, sometimes the state, just to find a place where they can reasonably start a family. On a personal note, I am experiencing firsthand, my oldest son, Gino, who's in the audience, him and his fiancée are getting married in October of next year. And they had been searching for a home for quite some time. But whenever there's an available home that comes on the market, bidding wars break out. and the homes end up selling for between 30 and 70% over asking price. Even when the homes are 50-plus years old and need major like roof repairs, gutters, electrical systems, plumbing, and cosmetic improvements, this shows just how urgent we need new construction workforce housing that meets or exceeds today's strict building codes, exactly what Beachway Estates is going to provide. I just want to run through you a timeline that we've had during this project, so you guys understand the work and stuff that we put into this project. And I want to just recap our timelines right now. Back in November 2023, we submitted an 8-30G application for a plan of 113 three-bedroom townhouses. Since then, we have met with multiple agencies, including Police Commission, Architectural Review Board, town engineers, town planner, fire department, solid waste recycling, a public meeting that we organized for the local residents, and of course, this Planning and Zoning Commission. And listening to the comments from the commissioners and the community, I directed my team to address every concern to the best of their ability. Even though our first application met or exceeded the state requirements, I felt we could do better, particularly with the water treatment system. So I withdrew the application voluntarily and spent countless hours with my design teams to improve the plan in every area of the whole system. And I'm almost done. As part of our submission, we have reduced the number of homes from 113 to 83, increased garage width by 2 feet for additional storage, added more walkways to improve site circulation, removed parking in front of garages and created additional parking that exceeds current town regulations for any new subdivision, hired Tom Ballestro, one of the top engineers in the field, recommended by both the town engineer and the other engineers in the community. Assembled the contiguous northern property to create more space and design a state-of-the-art above-ground water treatment system that is second to none, and is now one in this aquifer protection area that exists today. Added more green space and community open areas, updated siding and entrance designs based on Architectural Review Board feedback, worked with Fire Chief Byron, added hydrants, pull stations, and fire markings, increased plantings by over 25% for screening and overall plantings within the project, worked directly with solid waste and recycling to redesign the plan to meet operation needs, upgraded to a downlit lighting system for the whole project for safety and protection of all the residents, relocated the northern entrance to align with the cross street and added updated signage crosswalks per police commissioner and engineering department, received a letter from the Westfield Utility Director, Massimo Spazzato, stating that there are no concerns regarding aquifer protection. In conclusion, we've been extraordinarily responsive to every comment from commissioners, staff, and public. This redesigned project meets, and in most cases exceeds, every updated building code, health standard, and safety requirement from both the state of Connecticut and the town of Stonington. There is a dire need for new construction, deed-restricted workforce housing in this community. Rising construction costs, insurance, materials, and regulations make it extremely challenging for builders and developers to meet the state-mandated income limits for affordable housing. Yet, we are committed to doing exactly that in this project. And our hope that this commission recognizes the clear need for affordable housing, workforce housing, and approves this application as submitted today. Thank you very much for your time. I will now ask Matt to just finish conclusion of his action. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief because Mr. Arvidae's covered most of the points I wanted to cover. Before I forget, I want to thank the town staff for all their hours spent discussing and providing comments. I want to thank this commission for their hours listening and obviously hours volunteering. In general, I go to a lot of towns, and these volunteer commissions are the backbone of zoning in Connecticut, so we sincerely appreciate that. And I want to thank the public for coming out and I think very cordially sharing their concerns, although we obviously, these are important issues to everyone, but we do sincerely appreciate that as well, and we've tried to address them, and we hope you will conclude that we have addressed reasonable concerns. At some level, not everyone's going to agree, but I will remind you, well, before I remind you, I would like to say one other thing. Just circling back to my comments regarding Ms. Downey, I want to be clear. I have no question of her credentials, and my comments shouldn't be construed to do that. We have the utmost respect for her. My comments were more in the nature of other aspects of her testimony, and that her expertise is limited to her area of expertise. So I just want to be clear that we don't intend any slight to any experts. So yes, I will remind you, not everyone agrees, but what you have before you and what you have to consider under the legal standard for 8-30G is the expert testimony, and is there substantial evidence of a harm to public health and safety? Does that, if there is, does it outweigh the need for affordable housing? And if it does, are there reasonable changes that can be made? We submit to you that while the aquifer is and public safety in general are issues that rise to the level of concern for this commission, that there is not substantial evidence in the record that there is a harm likely to occur to them. So one is identifying an issue, the other is the quantum of likelihood of harm. We don't think there's really any evidence in the record to support that. And on the other side, you have 4 experts in stormwater system design telling you this system will exceed all the standards at your disposal. And in addition, we've agreed to stipulations to provide further comfort. So we hope you will agree that we've met our burden of showing you that this project is protective of those interests. Same thing with traffic. We have really uncontested traffic testimony and measurements of site distances and levels of service, all of which you're very familiar with, and all of which exceed what's required for development. And even though 830G proposals aren't required to strictly meet zoning standards, the flip side is that additional standards can't be created for them to meet that don't exist for other applications. So we commit this to you. Obviously, you can consult with your town attorney about expert testimony, et cetera. You don't have to take our word for it. And again, we thank you, and we request that the commission act favorably on our application. One housekeeping, or 2 housekeeping matters. One is, with regard to traffic safety, the last comment I'll make is, when we all leave this evening into the parking lot, we will cross a travel way, very similar to the travel way here. So the idea of walking across a low-speed travel way is not a safety risk. I just wanted to mention that. Can I confirm that the letter, you had asked us to confirm that there's adequate sewer capacity. We had done that earlier, and I believe it's in the record, but there's a letter from the WPCA. You've got that? Okay, thank you, Candace. And also, I assume you have the letter today from the town engineer. That's in the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then finally, I just have all of the pictures that we've referenced and shown tonight. I'd like to hand those into the record. Do I need to mark them individually as an exhibit, or can we mark them? And I'll hand in Mr. Argani's statement as well. With that, Mr. Chairman, Yeah, last comment. In your packet, there's resolutions that the staff has drafted for you. I just point out that we have no issue with resolution of approval 1, which is the resolution to approve the project. I would just note that it indicates setting up an HOA, which obviously we're not proposing. So if you do act on resolution 1, its condition 2 probably has to be amended because again, we're not having an HOA. They'll all be rentals.
We'll be acting this evening.
Yeah, understood. Thank you again, and that's all we have. Yes.
Unless the commission has any further questions, I think we can close the public hearing.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you both. Any discussion on the motion?
Only that we still don't have all the information. I know we got the letter from the engineer, but that didn't go to everybody. I got it like right before the meeting, so we just want to make sure we can.
It's in
as a
your,
board
it's actually in your box.
Can discuss it next.
It is in your box, those letters.
It's in your Dropbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion, it's been seconded, no further discussion. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, motion passes to close the public hearing. We probably have another 15 minutes. I don't know whether the next applicant can make their presentation at that time, but
I believe he's here from Florida, and I don't think he's going to be up next month.
okay, so is Ed Winky present?
Sure. Yeah.
Then why don't we open the public hearing and try our best to accommodate the applicant. And this next public hearing is PZ2543 SUP Stonington Housing Authority, represented by Ed Winky, engineer, for a special use permit application for the construction of 6,016 square feet of residential building with associated site improvements. The property is located at 45 Zisk Drive, Pawcatuck, map lot number 141419. Property is located in RH10 zone.
Clear out.
Evening, Ed.
We just can't hear.
I'm sorry. Evening, Ed.
Good evening. Anything else you got?
And you can take the microphone out of the stand if you need to.
This microphone?
That microphone works.
The microphone at the podium, if you wanted to stand up at your
Prefer to do that, that'd be great.
site plan.
Does it work? Okay, it does work. Thank you very much. We're open now?
You need to keep it right at your
No,
mouth.
we need a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Is there a motion to open?
Move to open the public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you for opening for us. I appreciate that. We were waiting here so long, I forgot what I came here to talk about.
Can't hear you. Can't see.
My name, for the record, is Ed Wenke. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I'm the site engineer for this particular project. With me tonight is Susan Odell from Paul Bailey Architects. She's the project architect. Marcia Sullivan, the executive director, Stonington Housing Authority, is also here. I'm here tonight representing the Stonington Housing Authority for an expansion of their existing elderly and disabled housing complex located on Zisk Avenue. Real quick, I'm going to try to be very brief on this. The site is 9 acres, zoned RH10, surrounded by RH10 on all adjoining properties, all developed as single family. The site has frontage on Cortlandt Street, on Palmer Street and on Connecticut Avenue. It has access via private right-of-ways off of Palmer Street, is formerly Winthrop Avenue, currently privately owned by the SHA. Sis Drive and Trumbull Drive, coming off of Cortlandt Street, also privately owned. The site has 16 existing residential buildings. They range from duplexes to sixplex buildings. Total density, total amount of dwelling units existing is 60. There is a community building and there's a maintenance garage. We're here before you tonight as an expansion of this existing use to add an additional building, which would be a two-story, eightplex building. In addition to that, two of the buildings in the back of the property, which are two sixplex units, will be reduced to fourplex units. So we're eliminating 4 existing units. Those units are going to be converted to laundry facilities for the complex. So we have an addition of 8, -4, we have a total gross increase of 4 dwelling units. These are all one-bedroom dwelling units. And in addition to that, we have a change in parking. Now the parking is split up into 2 areas on the site. If you're not familiar with the site, this is the low end of the site, this is the high end of the site. The low end of the site has 57 existing parking spaces. That's going to remain there.
But we can't see any of what you're talking about.
You can come up front and get a better look. If you want to sit right at that table.
Sorry about that.
Can you see it now?
Oh, yes, but that's on the other part.
Get a better seat if that isn't good enough.
The lower parking lot has 57 existing spaces, remains unchanged. The upper parking lot, which comes off of Winthrop Avenue.
Ed, you need to put that mic almost on your lips.
Okay. The upper parking lot, which comes off of Winthrop Avenue, currently has 15 spaces. We plan to increase that to 24 spaces to service the upper 4 buildings here. The rest of the buildings down here will be serviced by the existing 57 spaces. The site is not in a CAM zone, it's not in a flood zone, it's not within 500 feet of another municipality. It's pretty straightforward. The 8-plex unit itself up here will require us to extend new sanitary sewer down the parking lot to where it exists right now. So we'll have public sewer here. There's currently a water system that runs as a loop through the whole site. We'll be connecting to that. There's no natural gas service here, so we're not doing that. The building will be fueled by basically an electric heat pump. And that's kind of the gist of everything here. Storm drainage real quick. We have in the center of the site, there's an existing pond. It's a detention pond. It's been there for a long time. And it's been a problem for several years now because it hadn't been maintained properly. This pond picks up a lot of the town's storm drain system and also the rest of the site here too. Because it wasn't maintained properly, the pond was constantly filling all the way up to the top and had a lot of invasive species. We just went through a wetlands process to get that all restored. That happened last year, 2024, I believe. The entire drainage system here has all been cleaned up and it works perfectly. The storm drainage that happens from our new portion, our new building, and the modifications to the upper parking lot all drain into this detention basin, and we still net 0 increase in runoff. So the storm drainage is working as it should perfectly. We don't have to do any additional modifications to this system to make that happen. And that's pretty much it what we have for the site. I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible due to time constraints. Susan, would you like to get up and talk about the building? Talk close to it.
Hi, Susan O'Dell with Paul Bailey Architect out of New Haven, Connecticut. To be brief, we've already met before the Architectural Review Board. This is the board that I presented to them. So we went through all the details of the architecture. They asked for 2 changes: to change the color of the gables with the decorative shingle, and to change the spacing on the columns on the porch. We did both of those things, which you can see in these elevations here. I'll wrap it up unless you have any questions about the building itself.
Any questions of the architect or the engineer from the commission?
Could you go over again about where that building is?
I'm sorry, there'll be an opportunity for the public to speak.
Oh, okay.
You can't ask questions directly of the applicant. Sorry, it's just the way the meetings work.
So I have a quick question, just trying to find your file here. But one of the comments is you're looking for a reduction in 4 spaces on the required parking. Is that correct? Can you just talk about that?
Yes, I
I
can.
don't know how parking has been there in the past.
Currently, the existing parking is non-conforming. And keep in mind this
Can you
place.
speak into the mic, please?
Sorry. Keep in mind this place has been in operation since.
Can you turn the mic on?
Okay, now it's working. This place has been operating since the 1970s, I believe 1978. When it was approved, I don't know if they had the provision that you have, zoning section 13.2.2, which allows up to a 25% reduction in required parking if it can be shown that, there's just too much parking being provided. So currently, right now, it's not conforming to that. I believe we're short by about 9 spaces. By adding the additional 9 spaces up above for the new building, we've reduced that nonconformity to 4 spaces. So we're still 4 spaces short based on the current zoning. So as I'm going through the regulations, I realize, okay, if they did not get this approved before, and we can't find any proof that it was approved before, we need to ask you under special permit for a reduction in parking up to 25%. But in reality, at this point, we're looking at 4 spaces to be relieved. Is that clear?
That is clear. And do you think that's enough parking going forward? Have you had problems in the past?
No, there hasn't been any parking problems in the past. In addition, you have to also understand that several of the tenants here don't have cars. So when we're allocating, spaces to these units, they're not being used.
Any further questions of the applicant? Or the architect or the engineer? Any input from the staff?
No, sir.
Okay, do we have the sign-up sheet?
There were no signatures on it when you gave it to me.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or against this application? Or just make a general comment? Now I think you could,
Yes, I would like to speak.
if you could identify yourself, name and address.
Stephen Knight, I live on 48 Court.
Speak into the microphone, please.
So, do I have to?
Is it on?
Is it on? Yeah, it's on. Okay, it's cool. Turn screen. Yeah, I live on 48 Cortlandt Street, but my sister and I own a house on 19 Winthrop Avenue Extension, which is on where that building is going to be placed. It seems like it's outsized for that lot. I didn't even think they could be put on there. Is it going to be right on the road? There's no setback, there's no anything? And he says when they originally built that complex, it was for the elderly. Those people had no cars. Everybody was glad it went in there because it was that detention pond was just a swamp. That's how they built it there. But nobody had cars. But as they got bigger, different people came in. There's more and more call for parking. At the end of the street right now, there's a parking lot. They have 2 dumpsters down the end. It looks like crap. And then they put a fence around it so the people that use it don't have to look at it. Every time I pull in the driveway, I look at it, and it just frosts me. That thing.
What's the dumpster?
No, there's 2 dumpsters down the end of the drive.
Yeah.
But it's used for the whole complex. But they put a fence around it, a privacy fence around it to protect those people that use it from looking at it. But the rest of the neighbors just look at it all day. Now they're proposing to put that in there, and people come down and visit other people all the time. And I get no complaint about anybody that lives there. I get along with most of them, some I don't, but I don't have any complaint about it. I just think this building, which they originally were gonna put down by the retention pond, then they didn't change their mind, and all of a sudden, at the last minute, they're gonna put it up here. There was no public, I don't get, at the very end, you get notified that they're just gonna do this, and you have no input. Yeah, but they've spent thousands of dollars, you know, to get this far. This is, you know, they should have been involved, somebody should have been involved in the beginning of it. I think it's way outsized for where it's gonna be. So there's single-family homes all around the area, and now you're gonna put this building there. It just, it doesn't make sense, there's no green area.
Does that conclude your questions and your things?
Yeah, I just like to see more greenery, more, I just don't, I get just putting it there and everybody walk away and say, that's great. That includes it.
Anybody else wish to speak either for or against this application? Or just make a general statement? Just state your name and address, please. You don't have to sign the list.
Hi, my name's Kate Carab. I'm the chairman of the Stonington Housing Authority.
Okay.
So this creates a solution for our neighborhood at Edith K. Richmond that is really, it's really needed. We have a couple of buildings that they're getting much older, and they're not going to last much longer. And so this is a solution to make sure that we're really only getting 4 more units in the facility. It's not a huge building. It's a very nice size, 2-story, 8 units. We're taking 4 units offline. In the neighborhood, we do have a lot of green space. We have gardens, we have beautiful walkways. So, I mean, if you look at the map, it's mostly green.
Can you show us where the dumpster enclosure is in relation to the new unit?
Dumpster enclosure is right here.
No, it's not. It's right at the end of it.
Sir,
So there was-
you can speak again, but we're talking to another.
I was pointing to the proposed dumpster unit.
So there is a proposed dumpster enclosure that will fully enclose the dumpsters now?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, you didn't mention that during your presentation.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you understand that with respect to the exposed dumpsters, there's a dumpster enclosure proposed as a part of this project? Why don't you explain the dumpster enclosure?
No, you don't have to, can I speak?
No. You can
No,
again when you're recognized.
Okay.
Currently, the existing dumpsters that are there they're not enclosed. They're sitting on beds, one of them sitting right on the pavement. That's all going to be eliminated. The dumpster enclosure will be enclosed on 4 sides.
So there'll be a gate and 3 sides that are fixed?
Yes, sir.
And what are the 3 sides that are fixed, comprised of like a basket weave fence or something?
Yes, it'll be an opaque fence.
Okay. So you understand that that's going to be addressed? I'm talking to you now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ed. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
have no other comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to make a statement either for or against this Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I'm Andrea Clark, live on Connecticut Avenue. I don't know if I understood you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your name for the minutes?
Andrea Clark, yeah, Connecticut Avenue. I wasn't sure I understood what you were saying about the parking. Are you going to reduce?
Your questions have to come to us. If
Oh,
you can't have a
okay.
dialogue.
I was confused about the parking. Are we going to be reducing the parking that's going to be available to people? Because on Connecticut Avenue, people are parking in our street all the time. And it's like, it gets to be a navigational challenge a lot of times because there's so many cars. And several of those cars are from people in
I
that
didn't get that
complex.
there's a reduction in parking. I got that there's still going to be a deficiency when you're done, but the deficiency doesn't change, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So they're not reducing the parking, they're adding some and the deficiency, they're 4 spaces short, and that deficiency remains. They're not reducing it.
I was confused by that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Sir, do you wish additional rebuttal time?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
And the lady from the housing authority said there's, a lot of green space. There is a lot of green space down below, but some of my neighbors have been told that they can't go through there. And I've had one lady that lived there. Every night she got out of work, she picked up his baby, walked through there with her dog, and one time had somebody following her all the way down. So she asked me to help her. So I went over to a lady, and she had a red car registered in Florida. And I said, what are you following this person for? And she said, I'm just keeping track of her. So the woman called the police, and the police came and said that happened to be a neighborhood watch thing for the housing authority. But the policeman said that you can't walk through there. That's not town property, that's private property. So what I'm saying is, where the housing is going, the green space is behind them. It's not in front of them, it's not around them. It's way down below.
Is the green space, is the impervious coverage complied in the Florida ratio, comply with the town's requirement?
Yes, it does.
So in answer to your question, what happens in a project like this is that the impervious area and the green space is considered in the aggregate for the whole parcel. So they meet the regulations.
I get that.
In terms of,
after you look at trees for 70 years, and all of a sudden it's going to be just a pavement and a building and cars.
they meet the requirements of the coverage requirements.
Yeah, it just seems like,
I understand you'd rather not be looking at a structure.
yeah, is the building going to be right on the street? Because there's not much land.
It's going to be where it's shown, and it's in compliance with zoning.
So that's, he's got it right on the road.
Does it meet the setback requirements then?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Please keep in mind that we own the road.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that's,
I think we've addressed your question. Is there any further questions? Anyone want to speak for or against this project? Anyone have any questions for the housing authority or the architect or engineer for the project? I think it's in order, a motion is in order to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Motion to close, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm sorry, who seconded that motion?
Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains, the motion passes. Do we want to act on this tonight, or, okay. What's the
I think we had
commission?
something that said we have to be out of here by 10:30, that's 8 minutes.
We can do what we want, but we're gonna be in default of our contract here this evening. Sorry.
We're going to be in worse default on the 16th if we don't.
Yeah,
If we don't, look,
yeah.
I'm good.
So what's the commission's pleasure on application number PZ 2543 SUP Stonington Housing Authority? I know Ryan's not here.
So,
It's just too long a thing for me to read. You can read it.
I would like to make a motion to approve, and I'm trying to find the page here so I can go through these stipulations. This is nice. So with the following stipulations, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer, fire marshal, and town planner. Final plan shall be recorded in the town's land evidence records prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. The final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded. And the applicant shall post an erosion and sediment control bond Prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the bond shall be either in the form of a certified check. Do I have to read this over?
Motion made by Commissioner Resendez with conditions to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The next item we have to take into consideration is the next application, which we're simply going to open the public hearing and close it at the request of the applicant. This application is PC 2544 SUP EG Home LLC, represented by T-Cores, that's a law firm, care of Bill Sweeney. Special use permit application for construction of 18 residential units with associated site improvements. Properties are located at 13 and 65 Palmer Street, Pawcatuck, map block lot 461/13. Properties are located in the RB5 zone. So we need a motion first to open the public hearing.
Move to open the hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second.
Motion to open. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have one really quick, super quick point of order,
Yes.
something comment. I've been brought this up, it's not 65 Palmer Street, it's 65 Mechanic.
Yeah. I was looking
Okay.
at 65 Palm.
Yeah, it's across the street from my house.
Okay, I just read it the way that it was.
No, I know,
in
but
there. A correction is noted. That's fine. I appreciate it. Thank you. Motion on the table and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion to open passes. Need a motion to close, or continue rather.
Move to continue.
Okay, motion made. Thank you, Commissioner, to continue the public hearing to what meeting would it be?
12/16.
12/16. Any discussion? We have a motion to close?
No.
Continue, I'm sorry.
He had a motion.
Yes. Second on that?
Second. Yeah.
Second by Dave, I'm getting tired. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Chair abstains. This next item, I think we're just going to have to defer to the next meeting.
I agree, but I'd like to speak to the applicant because if we don't open and continue it, then abutters all need to be re-notified.
Okay, then I have no objection to that.
Okay. Mr. Chimento?
Could we squeeze this in on the second? We don't have any time on.
Our sincere apologies.
No.
It's a special meeting. We're not going to be able to move forward with your application tonight because we've run out of time. We need to be out of this building. But so that we don't have to notify all the abutters again, would you like to open the application and immediately continue it?
Yes.
My sincere apologies. We did our absolute best, but it just wasn't possible tonight with all this.
Do I get to be first on the list for the next meeting?
You won't be first, but you won't be last.
So this is application PZ 2546 SUP T. Chimento, special use permit application for the construction of retaining wall pursuant to zoning regulation 12.4.9. Property is located at 2 Pine Street, Pawcatuck, map block lot 16-7-15. Property is located in the RH10 zone. Need a motion to open the public hearing.
Move to open the hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners. Motion to
Move to
open.
continue the hearing.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Now we need a motion to continue.
Move to continue the hearing till 12:16.
Did we say 12/16?
Yes.
Or 12? Okay. You understand that, sir? That we'll meet again on 12/16 and be right here in the same room?
Yeah, I understand, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll do our best to get you as far up in the agenda as we can.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. So we have a motion. Any discussion on the motion to continue? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair abstains. Motion passes.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to,
No.
we are, let's continue. Motion to close the meeting.
Adjourn.
Yep. Motion to adjourn. No second is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Meeting closed.
Trial by fire, ladies and